We have a fantastic guest performer for you. We bring performers from all around the world, and this guy has performed all around the world. He's performed in over 20 countries and just about every state in the U.S. In addition to being a magician, he is also an author, a historian, a collector of magic. He's one of the best guys in the magic business, and he is so fantastic that there really isn't any need for me to go into more detail. Please welcome the award-winning magic of Mike Caveney.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. How are you? What a night. What a crowd. What a show. This is unbelievable. I have a little experiment I'd like to attempt right now. Very unusual, very unusual. And in order to do that, I'm going to need the assistance of this lady seated right here. Round of applause as she makes her way up onto the great stage. Please join me up on stage. Hello there. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Nice to meet you. Your name is?
Pam.
Pam. I am Mike the Magnificent. That's a good one. Pam, here's the deal. Magicians are always trying to fool the audience's sense of sight, right? Fool what they see. You've heard the expression, the hand is quicker than the eye? That's what they're talking about, sense of sight. But you have other senses. Magicians often ignore the other senses. And what we're going to try and do right now is eliminate your sense of sight and fool some other senses. Sense of touch, sense of hearing. Are you up for it? Oh, it's going to be fantastic. You're going to be so happy. But here's the deal. In just a few minutes, you are going to be completely amazed if you do everything exactly as I say, okay? You people, on the other hand, you will not be amazed, but you will be amused. You see, you're going to see exactly how everything up here works. But I'm going to need your help to put this trick over on my good friend Pam. Now, Pam, don't worry, it's going to be very simple. You're going to do just perfect, okay? In fact, I brought with me, look at this, piece of rope, just an old piece of rope. Take that rope in your own hands. I tied the ends together. You can give a good tug on it, make sure it is just as I've described. It'd be pretty difficult to, not impossible, but difficult to untie that knot, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, good enough. So here's what's going to happen. Put her there. You've done an excellent job. You see what we've done? We have created an unbroken chain right here. As long as we remain holding hands like this, it gets a little awkward, but it also creates an unbroken chain. Look at this. Now lay this rope right over your wrist like this. All right? Would you say it would be impossible for that rope to penetrate and link onto your arm?
Yes.
Wrong. Would not be impossible. One way to do it is for you to crawl through that feet first, all the way up over your head, down, and then it's on your arm, okay? Would take a struggle, I admit. Would there be another way? Is there another way we could get that on your arm? What do you think? No? No. Wrong. Would cut your arm right here. Break your arm right there, easy to pass along, like a key ring. But there's much less painful ways. Here's what's going to happen, Pam. In just a moment, you are going to close your eyes. When I ask you to close your eyes, you must keep them closed. You must not peek. Keep them closed until I tell you to open them. But with your eyes closed, you're going to reach out and grab onto this rope, and you're going to lift it up that high, 5 inches or so, and then you're going to drop it on your arm. That's all you have to do. Okay? Simple enough? Give it a test run. Go ahead, with your eyes open, just so you can see what it looks like. You got it made. Have you done this before? No. Pam, close your eyes. Keep those eyes tightly closed. You're not kidding on me. Your eyes are really closed, yes? Yep. Okay. No fair cheating. Keep those eyes closed because, as I said before, I'm going to do it just once here, to remind everyone how simple this is. We're going to take that rope, lift it up like this, and then drop it back onto your wrist like that. Now it's your turn, Pam. I want you to reach out, lift up 5-6 inches, and drop. Bang. Open your eyes. Well done. Right through your arm, didn't it, folks, huh? Look at that. Make sure it's still solid there. Unbelievable. You did fantastic. All right, big round of applause one more time for the star of our show. Thanks so much, Pam. A simple experiment that you can do. And now another experiment. Another experiment, and I need the assistance This young man seated right here. Round of applause as he joins us up on the stage. Hello, my friend. Your name?
Julian.
Julian, I am Mike the Magnificent. That's a good one. How old are you, Julian?
15.
You're way too old. No, I'm kidding. You're the youngest kid in the joint. 15 years old. You go to school? Perfect. I need somebody who is an accomplished financial advisor. I'm hoping that's you, yes?
Sure.
You have no idea what I'm talking about, Julian. I tell you what, the reason I say that, actually what I really need is somebody that I can trust. And you, my friend, have an honest face. I've been wrong before. But I need someone to look after my money, to be a banker. You know what I'm saying, Julian? Look at that. Look at that stack of $1 bills, Julian. Have you ever seen so much money? One of those rich kids. Right? Well, let me tell you something, pal. When you're a magician, that's a lot of money. All right? Take that money in your own hands, Julian. You are the banker. I need you to count into my hand, one at a time, 10 $1 bills. Count them out. $10. All right? Kid's got an honest face. That way I know I'll get exactly $10, then I'll be able to show you a most amazing demonstration. But it's important that we have exactly the right amount of money. That's where my banker comes in. That's it? That's it? Okay. You have some money left over, don't you? All right. You hang on to that because all we need for the experiment are $10. All right. To begin, Julian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hang on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What do you got, a service fee? 10% service fee? It's only $9. I need $10 for the demonstration. Let me, thank you very much. Julian, 9 plus 1, how much?
10.
Hear that? He's quick. $10. Ohio Public Schools. Your tax dollars at work. How much?
10.
Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Didn't you give me $1? Give me one more dollar. I'm still $1 short. 9 plus 1, how much?
10.
He sounds like a broken record. You don't even know what a broken record is, do you? 15 years old. Think of it as a broken cartridge. Same thing. Mind if I check? You do mind. Oh, you don't mind. Okay. What did you say it was?
10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You think it's me, don't you? Huh? No. This is $9. Julian, you take that $9. You take the $9. Wait a minute. I'm going to give you some insurance. One more. 9 plus 1 equals?
10.
Oh, $10, eh? This time I'm paying attention. You count the $10 out there where we can all see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like I said, 9 lousy dollars. Very nice, $9. You've got some money there. How much have you got in your hand there, Julian? Count it up.
$4.
Are you sure? You have $4, and this is how much?
9.
9. That $4 plus $9 totals. Carry the 4. 13. I would have got that. $13. $13. That's more than enough for the demonstration. $13, and it's a good thing because that's all I've got. Okay, I tell you what. Julian, we're going to start over. Put all the money together. Stack it up. Take all the money. I need $10. Not 9, $10. And I'll tell you what, my friend. Works this time. You can keep the extra $3. Fair enough? Now I've got his attention. All right, count them out there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I thought I recognized that face. It's Sticky Fingers Julian, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you, Julian, face that audience. Would you face that audience? Give a big blow on that stack of money. Big blow. One more. Oh, that's it. $9 bill right. Put it there, my friend. Big round of applause for Julian. It's Sticky Fingers They're teaching them young these days. You owe me $9. Well, I was hoping to do a trick with some money this evening, but apparently I didn't bring enough money with me. So perhaps there's somebody in our crowd. What, this guy sitting right here? Did you bring some money with you tonight, sir? You got some dough? Yeah, have to ask her, right? Round of applause for the gentleman as he makes his way to the great stage. Hello, my friend. Your name?
Carl.
Carl, nice to meet you, Carl. You already know who I am?
Yes.
That's good. Carl, pull out the old money clip, pull out the old wallet, whatever you got there. Pull out the largest denomination bill that you have, okay? The larger the denomination bill, the more fun we're going to have. See? What do you got there, Carl? Kind of a tough week for you, huh, Carl? What do you got there? I see. Okay, I don't even want to touch it. Keep that 20 out, put everything else, put the hundreds of dollars you have left over away. Hold up that $20 bill just like that so the folks in the back can memorize the serial number. Hang on, I got a better idea. Carl, I want you to take this pen. Right across the face, right, not your face, face of the bill, I want you to write, Carl, your name. That way we will identify this exact bill if we see it again, or when we see it again. Have you done that, Carl? You have signaturized the bill, yes?
Yes.
That's illegal. Look at that, right across old Andrew Jackson's face. See that, big blue letters right across the face of that bill? Carl. You would recognize that bill if you saw it again, wouldn't you?
Yep.
Don't hold your breath. I will fold that bill once, fold that bill twice, forming it into a tiny packet. Carl, I want you to keep one eye on the envelopes. 3 envelopes. 2 of these envelopes have been sealed down. On the inside, I have placed a piece of blank paper folded up just about the size of a $20 bill. That's in 2 of the envelopes. It is into the 3rd and final envelope that I'm going to place the signed $20 bill. And Carl, I want you to verify for the folks in the back there, the bill is in the envelope, yes?
Yeah.
And I don't want you to worry about the money. Okay, no sense in both of us worrying about the money. In fact, I tell you what, anything happens to your money, I'll be more than happy to hand the bill to, Now then. He's still smiling, that's a good sign. Carl, all seriousness aside, anything happens to your $20, I will replace it with a nice, fresh, crisp 20. Fair enough?
Yep.
Good. All right. Put your feet together, face the audience, take those envelopes, put both hands behind your back, and give them a good mix. Shuffle them up so that neither you nor I know which one contains the money. Give them a good shuffle there, Carl. It's the international sign for shuffle. Now, I can't very well take Carl's money here without first putting up some collateral, right? It's only fair. Lucky for Carl, I have with me tonight a cigar of equal value. It's true. Anything happens to the money, you keep the cigar. Fair enough? Yes, he says. 3 envelopes. 2 of them contain blank paper. The 3rd, a signed $20 bill. A little slow delivering those envelopes, Carl. You don't work for the post office, do you?
No.
What do you do for a living, Carl?
I'm a psychologist.
Ah, psychologist. Very nice. Well, you're way ahead of me then, all right? All right, Carl, here's where we find out if Carl, the psych, is a good sport. You get to pick one of the 3 envelopes. And believe it or not, the envelope that you freely select is going to contain the signed $20 bill simulating real magic. The question is, my friend, can you do it? Yes?
Yes.
That's great. First impressions are always best. The choice is yours. Like a magnet, he goes right to it. Unbelievable. Change your mind? Change your mind. It's up to you. Like a magnet, he goes. You happy? Take that envelope, tuck it into that pocket right over on that side, leaves me with 2 envelopes. Hold out this hand just like that, pretend you're a waiter. Oh, you weren't always a psychologist, were you? Upon that hand, a little baking pan. Say ah. No, the box. Ah. Excellent. Now, because Carl has made his selection, that, of course, frees the magician from any responsibility. No, Carl, there's nothing to worry about. There's still time to change your mind. Put this envelope in your pocket. It's up to you. Wait a second. Hang on just a minute. Let me take that. I'll drop this right down the hatch right over here. I will take that from you. Look at the pretty green flame in there. I don't remember seeing that before. All right. Well, just see that you get $20 worth of laughs out of this whole thing. All right, Carl? I will place this blazing inferno right over here under the sprinkler system. What a finish. Now then, let us review what has taken place. On Carl's instructions, I have burned these 2 envelopes. Over here we have 2 envelopes that have been burned. Over here we have a psychologist that has been burned. Not so fast. You've still got an envelope. Right, Carl? Pull out the envelope. A little showmanship wouldn't hurt here. Don't hurt yourself. Tear off the top of that envelope. Quickly reach inside and pull out the $20 bill. Open it up. Make sure in your own handwriting, written right across the face, Carl, and then hold it up so the folks in the back can see that it is, in fact, the exact same. Oh my God, I can't believe it. You picked the wrong envelope. Carl, I can't believe it. Now these people don't think I can do this trick. Look, give me another $20. I'll prove to you that I can do this once and for all. No, you keep this. That's your receipt. Tax deductible. You write it all off. Now, Carl, there's really nothing to worry about. Really. I mean, you came down here tonight to have a good time, right?
Yeah.
Well, good times cost money. Am I right? I mean, you act as though it were my fault that you picked the wrong envelope. All right. I admit, I'm the dummy that burned up the money. But he's the one that gave $20 to a dummy. All right, Carl, there's nothing to worry about. Don't you remember the moment you came up here to help me out, didn't I tell you that if anything at all happened to your $1 bill, that was a $20 bill, right? Got a memory like an elephant. It was a $20 bill, and I said if anything happened to that 20, I'd be more than happy to replace it with a nice, fresh, crisp 20, right?
Right.
Then you'd be happy. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. That's about as crisp as I can get it, Carl. That's not a pretty sight. I tell you what, first thing tomorrow morning, I want you to get up and go down to the bank, all right? You got a close by bank?
Yeah.
Just explain to them that you were out for an evening of entertainment and that you gave to a perfect stranger, I don't know how perfect he was, $20, right, Carl? And he burned it up. And all you and your friends did was laugh like crazy. Then I want you to hand him this lucky envelope, and they will tell you exactly what to do with it. So that's it. Okay, Carl, like I said, I don't like the way you're taking this. I mean, there's only one fair way to handle this, I think. We're going to have to share the blame, you and I. But in that case, we must also share the collateral. Have you forgotten? A cigar hermetically sealed in an airtight glass tube. Airtight. Listen, Carl, I will break the seal. Did I get any on you there, Carl? All right. Look at that. They think of everything. Sealed in cellophane to keep it in. Now, by using this pair of scissors that I have embedded in my chest, a little snip is all it takes. Look at this, Carl. It won't be long now. That's what the rabbi said. I can't wait for you, Carl. I will I will remove this cigar from the cellophane. I will break the cigar right down the middle, but Carl, you get to choose the half that you want. Fair enough? All right, sir. Ooh, wait a second. There's still a green leaf in the middle of that stogie. Carl, catch hold of that little green corner, pull it right out of the middle of the tobacco. It looks like a $20 bill. If that has your name on it, this is nothing less than a miracle. Same one? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the very same. $20 bill, it's unbelievable. And one more, put it there, my friend. Yeah. A big round of applause for Carl. And thank you all very, very much. You've been a great audience. I'll see you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right, well, you have seen the act, a delightful performance by Mike Caveney, and of course, to explain it all to you and me, Mike Caveney. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Dan? I'm happy to be here.
Oh, man, I'm doing great because I always love to see you perform, but this is actually the first chance we've ever had to sit down and talk about magic, which we both absolutely love.
Right.
And we love some of the same kinds of things in magic, working with the classics, making things funny and amazing at the same time, paying homage to the history of magic and knowing, where things come from. Let's talk a little bit about this act. What can you say about how this act was put together and where this material has been seen? Like, who do you think this is good for?
Well, so this all sort of started, I guess, back in my youth as a Long Beach Mystic kid, when I stopped doing a manipulation act and started doing a stand-up comedy talking magic act. And by living in LA, I was lucky when I turned 21, I could work at the Magic Castle. Mm-hmm. So that became my laboratory. And I would be able to go there and see basically every magician on earth. Everybody eventually came through the castle. So it was like graduate school, going to see all these great, great magicians. And learning what worked and what appealed to me. And so I started doing stand-up comedy talking magic. And my act back in those days, pretty basic. I did the jumbo invisible deck, I did a money machine, and I did the linking rings. And eventually, like for instance, the linking rings turned into the linking coat hangers. Mm-hmm. That was a big, big change and a big lesson to me, that I could take a classic trick like the linking rings and just disguise it, no more rings, but replace them with coat hangers, something that everybody has at home in their closet, and perform magic with that. And people identified with it. And I can't tell you over the years how many people have come up to me and said, "Oh, Mike, we were cleaning out our closet last weekend with this tangled mass of coat hangers, and we said, I feel like, remember that guy we saw at the magic?" They're talking about my act.
Yeah, it's funny. The first time I saw you perform the linking coat hangers, it changed my perception of coat hangers from that moment on. I've never looked at them the same since then. And for a very short time, you wouldn't have known this because I was performing around here. I was performing a version of the linking coat hangers because I was inspired by you, and then eventually I had to drop it. I think for kids getting into magic, it's good to emulate people that they like, but then they should go their own way.
Exactly what we all did. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I discovered with the coat hangers. I said, well, this is a good theory. Find a classic trick, something that's a proven effect with a good, simple, practical method. Take that trick and then try to disguise it. Maybe I can do it with different props. Maybe I can change the method. Maybe I can find a presentation that makes it look completely different and end up with something that does look different, that people don't recognize as... I'm amazed that people didn't say, well, that's just the linking rings.
Yeah.
They said, oh, you're that guy with the coat hangers. And I wanted to say in response, it's just the linking rings, but all right, I'm that guy.
Well, no, you learned a lesson that I think is very important for anybody in magic to learn, and that is that if people identify with the props, all of a sudden it gives it a completely different texture and character to it. It doesn't even look like the same trick.
Here's something that also brings to the table. If you bring out a set of linking rings, people are fascinated. I've heard of these, or I've seen these on TV, and they must come from the magic shop, and they never held one in their hand, and there must be some kind of trick to these things. But when you bring out a coat hanger, they go, oh yeah, I got 100 of those at home all over my floor of my closet. They know exactly what it is. They know exactly how it's made. they don't even have to examine it because they say, well, it's a piece of wire bent in that shape and twisted up and okay.
Yeah, and that's all in your books here.
Everything's in my books.
Yeah, all right. So for those that don't know about the books, this is Mike Caveney's masterwork of his own creations, and just absolutely everything that you have made a living on from the beginnings, from the Long Beach Mystics all the way through trade show work, onto headlining around the world, and there's the things that you're teaching here are in this book.
Yes.
But that's just a small section of what's in the book. If we were to teach everything, or even just the entire act that you do, it would be a long time.
We'd be here for a while.
Quite a while, which I would love, and I know everybody would love that.
I'll come back.
Well, that's good. That's great. We'll have you come back and do another act, because there's so much good stuff in there. And for anybody that doesn't know, that might be getting into magic and hasn't seen your performance of the linking coat hangers, it's fantastic. I don't know whether video's available out there.
I think it's on YouTube.
Everything's on YouTube,
from
right?
40 years ago.
Sure. So, and that's the thing. And 40 years ago, that's when it would have inspired me. So it's, I'm sure it will inspire others. But one of the other things that I like about your thinking, in particular on magic, is that you don't just stop with one method. You try to get the most out of it and make it so bulletproof that it just gets better and better, and you have a version of it that is kind of impromptu with ordinary coat hangers that can be borrowed from anyone.
Right.
And it's one of those things that a lot of magicians have kind of reinvented, the borrowed linking coat hangers over and over again. I was telling you before we started that it's one of my favorites because it just blows your mind. There's no possible way. Yeah.
So in answer to your question, I developed this act, and back in those days, I wanted to work, and the thing that was available to work were banquets. So I was a banquet magician. Company or organization would have their dinner at a hotel ballroom, and afterwards, here's our magician, and I'd come out on a platform, hopefully, or sometimes in the middle of a dance floor, and I might be surrounded 3/4 by the audience, and I've got to carry one thing out and plop it down and do a half an hour or so. And so that's what I became, a banquet act. We would call it back then a commando act, an act that you can do anywhere for any audience, from little kids to businessmen to grandma and grandpa, and everyone can enjoy it equally.
Yeah.
And so that was always my goal, and therefore I was able to work a few comedy clubs. My comedy club was the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach in California. But on cruise ships, like I said, hotels, banquets, in theaters. So even though it was an act that I can carry in one suitcase, it's an act that I'm not afraid at all to do in the biggest theater.
Sure.
And it plays big.
Yeah, and looking through this, there's a photo of you performing the Bill-In cigar.
Yeah.
And a room of like 1,500 or more, something like that?
More like 5,000.
5,000.
I can tell you where it was.
You
It was the San Diego Sports Arena. And it looks impressive. It's taken from backstage, and you can see this massive crowd. And even if they can't see the writing on the bill, which I'm sure they couldn't, what they can see is the reaction of the spectator going, what the heck? How did that?
Yeah.
And that's all you need.
Yeah, plus, a lot of your material is not only just built on a solid foundation of good classic magic and very deceptive methods, it's written extremely well. So even if they can't really see everything, they're enjoying what's transpiring.
So here was always my plan. I want my act to be funny, so that they're going to laugh all the way through it and have a great time. And when they walk out, they will say, that was just really fun and funny. And the next morning when they get up, I want them to go, wait a minute. How did he get that chicken out of that spectator's coat? And I want that to torture them.
Yeah.
And I want them to torture them so much that they'll say, that guy's at the Magic Castle, or that guy's somewhere. I want to go see him again.
Yeah, and they will, because they want to.
Figure this out.
They want to come for the entertainment, and they want to come to be.
They know it's going to be fun.
They want to try to figure it out. And you were saying to me that's something you wanted to mention. Let's see, Gene Anderson had mentioned it.
Gene Anderson. When I was a kid magician, I went to Gene's lecture, And he said, to me, the definition of a commercial act is an act that people will pay to see again. And that's the key word, again. How many times have you bought a ticket to a movie? It was a lousy movie. You said, I wasted my money, I wasted my time. Yeah. Well, they did get your money, but they'll never get it again. And everybody that you run into, you're going to say, don't waste your time or money. That's a lousy movie. But a great movie, you'll enjoy so much, you'll say, you know what? I'd go see that again. I want my act to be like that. I want people to say, I would go see that again, A, because it was so much fun, and B, I got to figure out how these tricks worked. And that's what I've sort of spent my whole life doing. I've always said in these books that a trick is never finished. You're constantly tweaking and thinking about it and adding. It could be one line of patter, a little tiny bit of misdirection or something like that, or changing a gimmick or adding a gimmick. And I say these routines, they're like artichokes or onions. And that means there's layer after layer after layer. Each little layer adds another layer of mystery. And when you pile them all together, the true secret of each effect becomes completely impenetrable. Yeah. So I welcome people to come back. And I always think of Gene's quote, I want them to come back and watch a second time and still be baffled and say, I don't get it. I just don't know how this happened.
Sure.
So I'm serious about the comedy. I want it to be funny. I spend a lot of time writing scripts and then throwing them in the trash and rewriting it, and even more time thinking about the method and how can I make this a little better. What you're about to see is that these routines that I've come up with, I hate to say it, they seem really complicated. Not the performance of them. The performance seems really simple. I mean, there's nothing there. He's not doing anything. But sometimes the routines in these books, I know they scare people away. They go, oh my God.
Does he have to build this?
They got to build this, I got to make this, and I got to do all this stuff. And it's true, you do have to do that once. And for instance, the stuff that I'm going to show you in the Bill and Cigar, yes, I made that stuff probably in the late 1970s. It was a lot of trouble. But I've used that now for 40 years, and it's absolutely bulletproof. I never have to worry about, I hope this thing works. And they're finely made props, and so to me, it's worth it. I don't mind spending the time when I'm home in my workshop thinking about, and I have the time, so that when I get out on stage somewhere, I don't have to worry about a prop work.
Yeah, that's the real secret. Have all the work done before anybody has any eyes on it. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, having mentioned that, we're going to start out with a pretty easy to make routine.
Absolutely.
An impromptu
probably the easiest.
Yeah, and why don't we just jump right into it and you explain everything. I know you're going to need me up there eventually, but do you need me to come up right now?
First, I'll tell you about the original Powers of Darkness.
Yeah, sure.
I saw this performed back in the 70s, and Jay Marshall did it, and I thought, this is great. And I found out that Magic Incorporated sold this routine, and I bought one, and it used rings, and the ring penetrated on and off a spectator's arm, and it was very intriguing, but kind of cumbersome. I performed it once, and during that single performance, I liked it. I said, I think this is so unusual that I really want to spend some time on this. But I immediately changed the props to the one thing I had hundreds of at home were coat hangers, these big heavy aluminum coat hangers. And I stretched one out into sort of a square shape and then came up with a 4-phase routine that I could do with these coat hangers.
Yeah, and I'm not giving anything away when I say the added benefit with the coat hangers is they come with a hook.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the original version, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
To do the original version with these little rings that looked exactly like linking rings, you had to be seated across from the spectator. There had to be a cushion on your seat with one ring under the cushion. Behind you, there's a table with a newspaper on the table and another ring underneath the newspaper and a third ring, which was examined. And I thought, this is a lot of furniture to carry to make a ring penetrate on and off an arm.
Yeah.
And the coat hangers, one big difference was a ring is round, okay, and that means it's curved all the way around. And a coat hanger, once you stretch it out, it's got 4 straight sides. And I discovered you can do some amazing things with those straight sides that you can't do with the curve. Yeah. So I got excited about that. And so I did this routine. The original was put out in England by Tony Corinda. Corinda had a magic shop in London. And it was a young guy that used to come into his shop named John Tremaine. He's the guy that came up with the concept of the powers of darkness, which is a completely out of left field idea.
Sure.
I explain it best by saying it's a little bit in the same realm as paper balls over the head, in that the audience gets to see exactly how this works. And they've never been in that position before. Wow, this magician is fooling one of us, but we all get to see how it works, and it's really funny and really clever. So that was the story of that Powers of Darkness. I did a show once in London, not in London actually, it was down south. It might have been in, I don't know, some city, Brighton maybe, in England. And after the show, a gentleman came backstage and says, "Oh, I loved what you did with the Powers of Darkness." And I said, "Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it." And he says, No, I think you really took this thing to the next level, and I really appreciate the time and effort you put into this." I said, "That's very nice." And he said, "My name's John Tremaine, the guy that invented this." It meant the world to me, and still does. So as I mentioned before, sometimes there are no coat hangers, and you can usually find a piece of cord or rope or string or something. And I just came up with a little single phase thing that's, it has everything good about it that the Powers of Darkness routine, except it's super simple.
Sure.
And as complicated as so much in this book is, this thing you can make in 5 minutes at home and be ready to go and get a one-phase version of that unusual effect.
Yeah, and we'll go over that. And if anybody wants to learn, the one with the coat hangers, of course, it's in there.
It's in here. Or actually, I sell the coat hangers, a printed booklet with the whole routine in it, and a DVD that teaches the whole thing.
Nice.
So I certainly talk all about it in this book. But if someone's really serious about it,
and it's a great routine. Highly recommend it.
So let me go do the setup.
You start with that, and then invite me over when you need me.
Don't go away.
All right.
So here's what it uses. It's a loop of rope, but it's actually 2 loops of rope. And what I've done is that I have tied this rope together, right? And you'll notice that there's sort of one little short end and one longer end, and that is by design, okay? And they're both like that. One of these ropes is going to end up, okay, this one starts out in my pocket, and this one I have to set up. And here's how we set this up. I'm going to put this through my right arm, through the loop like that. And I'm going to get rid of that castle schedule, and I'm going to hold on to this for just a second. And now I'm going to put my coat back on. I'm holding on to that loop. And I just let go of the loop. Let me see where I'm at. This is all done, of course, as you are casually toying with the deck. Okay? There. There's 2 ways to keep this rope in the proper position. One way is to pull that loop, the top of this rope is up here. And it's hanging out of the coat sleeve, and it's hanging down here. And when your coat is against your chest like that, it kind of locks that rope in, and you're not going to end up with a big loop of rope hanging out of your sleeve. The bottom end of that rope is right about here, okay? And remember, my arm is through it. If you forget to put your arm through the loop, it's very embarrassing at the end. Nothing happens. The woman opens her eyes, nothing has happened, and you look like an idiot, okay? Bottom of that loop is right here. So that means if I reach that far up my sleeve, I can grab hold of it, okay? There's another way to lock that up your arm, and I'll show you that. Well, maybe I should show you that right now. Maybe I will, since we're at that point. If you're a little afraid of that, you can do this. My arm is through the loop. I'm going to take a rubber band, and I'm going to put this up my arm, there, like that. And I'm going to tuck this loop through that rubber band, and that is now at about the right position. I'll put this back on. And now I'm going to fetch that. There it is. And I'll pull that down into the proper place. It's doing exactly the same thing.
And that setup with the rubber band, that'll last a little bit longer. You can have it under there a little longer than the other way.
Probably.
You know, a little bit more freedom of movement, I would imagine, with it locked in place.
I might have just pulled it out of the rubber band, but we'll all find out together. And that's it. I now have a rope loop around this arm, and it's pretty much locked into place. And you're ready to go. So then we get a spectator up. I usually look for a lady, and I usually look for a lady who doesn't have a big coat or anything on her arms, like a short sleeve blouse would be the best, so that we're dealing with her skin, which she can feel the best. So we'll get the lovely Dan Harlan will be perfect. Dan.
And I will
so the lady
pull
comes
my
up.
sleeve up. I'm
That's
not sure
perfect.
which one do you need?
This one.
All right.
Because the first thing that happens is that the lady takes the rope loop, and I say, you can have a look at that and see that it is indeed just a piece of rope.
Indeed.
And I've tied it securely together. It's very tightly tied. That'd be difficult to untie that knot.
Very difficult.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave this here. You've done a fine job. Congratulations. Look at this. And as long as we keep shaking hands here, we have created an unbroken chain. I'm going to loop that, lay that loop of rope right over your arm. Would you say it would be impossible to get that loop looped around your arm, linked onto your arm?
Yeah, without a struggle.
Without a struggle. Right,
Sure.
Okay. Well, actually, I can't do it, but you can do it. And here's how it works. It works only with your arm, and it works only when your eyes are closed. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and when I do, you're going to reach forward, and you're going to grab that loop. You're going to lift up about that high, 4 or 5 inches. You're going to drop the loop on there. That's all you have to do. But you must do it with your eyes closed, and you must not peek, okay? So, Dan, first of all, I want you to close your eyes. Keep those eyes tightly closed. You're not cheating?
Not cheating.
Okay, I know it's dark in there. But here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to show you how it doesn't work when I do it. I'm going to take that loop, lift it up 5 inches, and drop it. Just like that. Nothing happens. Now, with your eyes closed, Dan, you try it. Lift up, 5 inches, 6 inches, and drop. Perfect. Open your eyes, right through your arm. Very nicely done. Round of applause for our lovely assistant, Dan Harlan. And they can take the rope.
And it feels good that extra little long piece
that's
makes it
the whole
feel
point.
like you're picking up both of those
That's
both
the whole
strands.
point. That's why. So we're going to put this over here. When you lay the loop over the spectator's arm, the knot is down at one side, out of harm's way, all right? So what they have, and of course, remember, their eyes are open at this point so they can see everything. What's happening is you are painting a picture in the spectator's mind, okay? You're eliminating their sense of sight. They only have their sense of hearing and their sense of touch to tell them what's going on. But at the very beginning, they also have their sense of sight. So like I said, we're painting this picture. And when I do this, and I grab both little sides of the rope, both pieces of rope, and I lift it up this high, he can feel that rope move up past his wrist. And then when I let go, he feels both sides of the rope land on his wrist. That's the picture he has in his mind, okay? And so now, when that happens and his eyes are closed and he feels exactly the same thing, he's going to have that same picture in his mind. So at the point where I say close your eyes, Dan closed his eyes, and that's when this one gets pulled out of my sleeve, okay? And now I've got that big extra long end. And what I do is I'm going to pick this loop up, but I'm going to open it up as wide as I can. And the way that I do that is like that. I've got my little finger and ring finger holding basically the knot end over against my palm, and the index and middle finger holding out here. So what that does is create the largest loop I can get with one hand. And now I carefully move that over his hand and over his wrist. I don't want it to touch him yet. And now my thumb and index finger are available to pick up both sides of that rope, lift up, and as soon as I drop the loop that's around his wrist, I lift the other one straight up and away. And it's going to feel
Feels exactly the same. Yeah.
exactly the same. This one goes away, and this time it landed perfectly. That long end of the knot is laid right over his wrist. Now, if for some reason it didn't, if for some reason it was like this, I could adjust it. That's okay. But if you hold it right, like this, and drop it like that, I could make a little adjustment and it would be fine. Now remember, I'm going to say, now I want you to do just what you did before. Reach forward, grab onto both pieces, both sides of that loop, and he does, and he feels exactly the same thing.
Feels just right.
He lifts it up, he feels it move up past his wrist, and he drops it, and as soon as he drops it, the last thing I do is I don't want him to look at this and to say, wait a minute, I think that was already on my list, and I grabbed that little end. As soon as it lands on his wrist, open your eyes.
Yeah.
And now it's out of harm's way, and he sees a single loop of rope, and it's a perfect penetration of a solid piece of rope on a spectator's arm.
I love it.
It's that simple.
Yep,
Thank you,
yep,
Dan.
no problem.
So, impromptu powers of darkness. All right? Now we're going to move on to $10 bill trick. Let me tell you about the $10 bill trick. The $10 bill trick came originally, it was a card trick. It was called the 11 card trick. And it first appeared in a book called Methods for Miracles by Willane, British guy. Whole series, about 10 little booklets with some good material in them, and one of them was the 11 card trick. And it was a good trick, and people started doing this trick. One of the guys that did it was Mike Skinner. And Mike Skinner, it was a trick, basically, the effect was what I did last night with the bills, where one of them keeps disappearing. But it was more complicated. It was a little more complicated. Now, the first guy that decided to do the 11 bill trick with money was Gene Gordon, my old buddy Gene Gordon, who was a magic dealer, a great guy. And he's the one that made this routine where bills kept disappearing with money. And at a show in Monte Carlo, Fred Capps saw Mike Skinner do the 11 card trick, and he liked it. And Fred, I'm sure independently, said, I'd like to figure out if I could do that with bills. It's much more interesting when money disappears than with cards disappear. Card disappears, who really cares? But if money disappears, they're going, hey, wait a minute, this guy's losing money here. So Fred is the guy who I believe came up with a great way to be able to palm dollar bills so that you can't see them. So first we're going to talk about the dollar bills. And what I recommend, if you have any interest in doing this, you need to go to the bank and get brand new consecutive serial number bills. Maybe I'm being a little too particular here, but I want this stack of money to always be in the same order. Because when they fold, they're just going to nest and fit together better if they're always in the same order. So I leave these bills, mine goes from the last two digits, from 30 up to 46. That's 17 bills. Now, when you get brand new bills, and I suggest you do get brand new bills, it is impossible to count them like this. Brand new bills do not count. You have to count them 100 times to even get them to start to count easily. But what happens is that you'll push off and get 2 bills, 3 bills together because they're brand new. The big secret is, and this is in my book, but it's one sentence, and if you miss this sentence, you'll spend the next 3 months counting money going, when are these things going to loosen up? And the real secret is to drop these one at a time into a brown paper bag, put 3 taps of fanning powder, regular fanning powder from the magic shop, into that bag, and then shake them up. Shake them up for a few minutes. It doesn't take much fanning powder, believe me. And when your bills come out of the bag and you put them back in their correct order, they're going to be dusty, and you're going to have to do this, and there'll be a little cloud of dust, and you're going to have to do this a lot to get that fanning powder off. But all of a sudden, in a few minutes, they're going to work like a dream. You can use the same bills I used a set of bills for 20 years until they disappeared, and then I made another set, and I've had these for many years. So here's what you have to do to the bill. The bill gets folded, and probably the easiest way to show is, we call that a Z-fold, okay? There we go. It's folded into thirds. Now, I have George Washington facing that, his head is up here, okay? And that means that that's the valley fold and that's the mountain fold, or at least that's what they call it in origami. And each bill is folded like that.
And you fold them individually like that?
I fold them absolutely individually, and I use letters on the bill so that each one is folded in exactly the right place, because I want, when I'm done for this whole stack, to be able to be folded into a very nice, neat Z fold, right? Okay, I've got George's head to my right. And so you can count the bills, and those folds don't really necessarily show up. So here's what I need. The next thing you need is a false count. You have to learn to false count money. Well, when I started deciding that I wanted to do this routine, I didn't have a false count for money. But trying to loosen these bills up before I discovered the fanning powder, I counted these bills a lot. And that's how I counted them. And so I decided whatever false count I end up with, I want it to look like that. Not only to look like that, but to sound like that. There's three things that make a false count work. The visual, and the sound, and the rhythm. Those three things, each one is very important. And so I decided, since I count bills like that, I wanted to duplicate that look. So the false count looks, I would say, exactly like a regular count. And when I do this routine, I do the false count the first time on number 3, 5, and 7. That way I'm not going to get confused and do an extra false count and end up with the wrong number. And the second time I do it, I false count on 3 and 5. And the third time I do it, I false count on 3. So it's 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, and 3. That gives me a chance to establish my rhythm and then mix a real count in between the false count. I don't know that that's the right answer. That's what I've done for many, many years. So here's the false count that I did. The first thing that I do is I push the bill. I'm holding the bills pretty much at the bottom half. That's where my hand is, at the bottom half of the bills, which means that the audience gets to see the whole top part of the bill. And I do hold them up at chest level. The card trick, you know, if it's a card trick and you're doing it at a table and you're counting cards like this, people sitting at the table can see them. This is a stage trick as far as I'm concerned. This is a trick that I've done for big groups of people. So that means you have to hold these things up at chest level. And to do the false count in that position, you can see where I'm gripping the bills down here. They're kind of curled. Just by naturally curl of your hand, those bills are a little bit curled in there, okay? And that's going to help me in just a minute. So I'm going to hold this just like this, because that's a great shot and you can see what's happening. I'm going to push that first bill off with my thumb. And this outer left corner moves all the way over to this outer corner of the bill. Now from the front, that's what the audience sees. They get a big view of that bill that's about to be counted. Now, when I take that bill, I'm not going to pull it that way, because that's not how I count money. I'm going to pull it straight back like that. Now, when I do, a couple things happen. First of all, this top part of the bill gets folded back, and you hear the bill being pulled away, and what's making that noise is that the bottom half of the bill is riding right over my thumb tip. Not a thumb tip, the tip of my thumb, all right? So, if you listen, that's the sound caused by the bill rubbing over the tip of that finger, all right? So that's the sound. And the other thing that happens is that when I peel that bill back, it ends up kind of behind the stack. You see that? It's out of view for just a second. Just a second. So that's the visual, and that's the sound, the audio. The rhythm is just you counting the bills. Whatever you do, when you hit number 4 and you go, uh-oh, number 5 is a false count, I better get ready, I don't want to screw... No, you've already screwed it up. You've got to learn this count that you can do either a false count or a regular count without thinking about it, and at exactly the same speed, the same tempo, the same everything. And that's what's going to sell it. So I'm going to first just count these bills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? That's what it looks like when I count money. Now on 3, 5, and 7, well, first of all, I should explain what's going to happen when I do the false count. Let me see. There we go. The first bill comes away, and I'm holding it between when I peel it away, I'm holding it between my thumb and index finger up here, right about at the top fold, at that valley fold. That's where it's getting held onto and then pulled backwards over my thumb tip. Then I push the next bill off the same way, and we come back over here, and I'm going to take that bill with my free fingers and pull that over my thumb tip, and then I reposition my index finger. It's in between those bills, and now I grab both of them so that I can push the third bill off, and I'm going to take that one with my index and my ring finger and middle finger, and I'm going to press that pretty much against my index finger there, and peel that off like that. Now I'm going to do the false count. My index finger is holding all the bills in this hand. These fingers are free. I'm going to push the next bill off to the side just like before. I'm going to grab it like that. But now, here's what's different. I'm still going to fold it sort of backwards like that in half, so it's going to leave their view. As soon as it comes to that point, I'm going to drag these fingers over the top half of the bill, which is going to produce this sound that I want, the same kind of sound of the bill being pulled over the fingers, and at the same moment, my thumb is going to pull that bill back on top of the stack. Now that sounds like a lot. It isn't. Here, I'll do it on 3, but very, very slowly. Bill number 1, bill number 2, bill number 3, okay? There's a real count, and a false count. It's harder to do it slow, I think, than it is to do at speed. So now I'm going to go up here. I'll false count on 3, 5, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How about this? I'll false count every other bill. Every even number will be a false count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 bills with actually 17. All right. So the false count, you can see the rhythm and the sound and the visual is what produces a good false count. Here's some other things that I did. I'm going to fan these out. 17 bills in order. If you count down, oh, you're not going to be able to see this. Maybe someone can zoom in. Down 1, 2, 3 to the fourth bill. Ah, look at that. There's a little black dot on bill number 4, right there in the corner. That's going to be very important in a few minutes. And then we go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, bill number 10, little black dot right in the corner. This is why you want them in numerical order by serial number. So you never have to worry about, do I have these dots in the right place? From the top, bill number 4 and bill number 10, a little black dot in the corner. Twice during the routine, I'm going to have to, when I have a pile of bills in my hands, I'm going to have to get my thumb in between the bottom 4 bills and the rest of the pile. And instead of having to count, one glance is going to show me that little spot, that little dot, and I'll be in business. So I should talk, I guess, about the steal of the money. So I always do this trick with a little kid, and there was only one kid in the audience last night, Adrian. He was a great kid, but he was like 15 years old. I would never get a kid normally that old. I want a kid who, when they count up to 10, it's a triumph. I've done this with 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, and I love that, when they're just struggling to make a pile and get all the way up to 10, and it's funny. And the fact that a 5-year-old is my banker is even funnier. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'll be the kid here, and he's gonna count 1. Now, of course, we're reversing the order. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I should have said that by this time, I've taken the money out of the wallet. This, by the way, is a Himber wallet, and I'll explain that in a minute. I put the wallet under my right arm over here, okay? And the little kid counts 10 bills into my hand. I'm explaining sort of what's going to happen to the audience. I'm not really paying attention. And then I notice that they've stopped counting. And I say, oh, was that 10? And just that quickly, I spotted my dot on bill number 4. I've got my thumb tip in there so that I can re-square the stack like that. So that's what they have. That's what they see from the front. Now, I have the valley fold slightly valley folded at the front here, and I have the mountain fold slightly up in the back like it's supposed to be a mountain. And now I need the slightest bit of misdirection. And so I say to the little kid, I kind of turn towards the kid and say, oh, you have some money left over. And all the attention is going to go to that kid because the kid's standing there with a handful of money. And as soon as I do that and I look at the kid, there's nothing for me to see in my hand, so I look at the kid, you have some money left over. And that's the point where, I think it'll look okay from even, let's see, this hand moves forward holding the stack of bills and leaves them right there. And what happened when that moved forward is I folded up, Z-folded the bottom 4 bills of the stack. I'm going to back up. There they go out again. So I'm holding, let me get my thumb tip in the right spot, right there. So the front edge of these bills is sort of laying right across my index finger there, okay? This hand, the right hand, is making sure that I get that fold going the right way in the back. And I'm going to turn and look at the kid, and when I do, I'm going to leave it right here so you can watch it. This hand moves straight back, and they get automatically Z-folded just like that. And at that point, I am completely clean all the way around. If there's a guy up in the flies looking down, he won't see anything. All the edges all the way around are covered. And the kid says, yes, I have some money. And I say, you keep that for now. You're my banker, okay? At the same time, I pull this stack of money away, and this hand naturally goes right up here and takes the wallet out from under my arm and puts it into my pocket like that. And of course, I've left the 4 folded bills in the pocket. And I'm ready to go. There's now $6 here. The kid just counted $10 into my hand, and now I just want to recheck very quickly, count them again, but I'm only going to have 9. And that means I have to false count on 3, 5, and 7. Okay, so a simple demonstration using, I'm going to go up like this, okay? Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm surprised. Wait a minute. Did you give me $10? Just a second. And I recheck even faster, like for myself. Maybe the bill stuck together. Maybe I made a mistake. Just a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's $9. I'm $1 short. What kind of a banker are you? Reconveyance fee, eh? Just as I suspected. Let me have $1. Little interest, if you don't mind. He takes $1 off his stack and drops it on top. 9 plus 1, 10. So we get some laughs out of the kid being able to do his addition. All right, now I can do the demonstration. $10. Now I'm going to false count on 5 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a minute. I should have said I'm going to count on 3 and 5. Okay? 3 and 5. And I'll end up with 9 because we added 1. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait a second. Didn't you give me $1? Okay, these are going to stay in the same order. I'm still $1 short. Let me borrow $1 from you. The kid puts another $1 on top. 9 plus 1, the kid says makes 10. He's quick, the human calculator. Okay? We'll try it again. Now I will just false count on number 3. And I mean, I never worry about the kid. And I'll count these as fairly and slowly as I possibly can because I'm confident in the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You think it's me, don't you? No. This is $9. I'm telling you right now. And I say to the kid, you take the $9. In fact, I'm going to give you some insurance. And I give $1 more on top of his stack. This time I'm paying attention. Count them out where I can see them. Okay? He's going to count them one at a time into my hand. And what that's going to do, 1, 2, 3, because I stole 4 bills and we have added 3 bills, he's still $1 short. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see that? I told you it's only $9. Now what that count did, we're just going to go down here and look. The 4th bill from the bottom has that other black dot in the corner. That's the bill that started out as the number 10 bill. It is now exactly where I want it, 4 from the bottom. You know what I think happened last night? I think on the final count, the kid had $8, which is completely wrong. It doesn't ruin the trick. It just means 1 more bill disappeared than I thought. I fooled myself, basically. There's only 2 ways that can happen. Either I didn't have the bills in the right order, operator fault, or when I saw that black dot, when I closed the bills up, I don't know, maybe I got my thumb on top of the bill above it or something. But anyway, that's what happened. It was all my fault. So he has counted the money into my hands. And he's taken this stack back. This is $4. So here's a move that I figured out that I really like. I don't think it adds anything to the routine. I do it anyway. I did it in the routine last night. It makes me feel good. Because it just happens that the math works out that allows you to do this little moment, which you'll see what it is. So the kid has just counted. I go, you see that? $9. And I'm now got my thumb in position. I'm ready to do the second steal of the bottom 4 bills. And once again, I turn to the kid and I say, how much money have you got left over? Well, everybody's going to look at this little kid while he counts the money in his hand. And I'm going to push that stack of bills forward in my hand. Automatically, the bottom 4 bills have been folded into that little Z bundle underneath the bottom. My hand covers the whole thing. The kid finally says, $4. And now, here's the move. I take the stack of money into my right hand, and as I do that, let me see how we can show this. I'm going to fold this folded bundle by folding my fingers closed. It's actually folding that stack again. I'm going to put my thumb right on top of it, like that, as I open my fingers out and said, you have $4, okay? It's a neat way to show your hand basically empty without saying, look, my hand is empty except my thumb has disappeared. If you had to indicate 4, that's the way you would do it. You have 4, and I have 9, and I just let this hand drop to my side, dead, and now because I'm an idiot, I'm trying to add up 9 plus 4. 9 plus 4, carry the 3. Someone will usually say 13, and I go, I would have figured that out. 13, of course it's 13. An idiot would know that. Well, that's more than enough for the demonstration, and it's a good thing because that's all I've got. So at that point, I've reached into my pocket, I've dropped off the second batch of folded $4 and pulled out my wallet and shown that it's empty. This is all the money I've got. I say, look, we better start over. We're going to start from scratch. Put all the money together. $13. So now the kid thinks he's got a stack of $13. 9 plus 4. Okay, this time I'm paying attention. We're all paying attention. I want you to count from the $13 onto my wallet right here, 10. Not 9, $10. And I'll tell you what, if it works this time, you can keep the extra $3. Fair enough? Well, now the kid's interested. $3? Heck yes. Okay. So me and everybody else now are watching the kid. He counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The kid has lost $4 in one go this time. Actually, I've lost, and I accuse the kid of being the culprit. I thought I recognized that face. It's Sticky Fingers Adrian, ladies and gentlemen, right here. And I just closed the wallet up like that. Now, here's what we haven't talked about, and I'm going to go get exactly what I need. I used to change those bills into a big $1 bill because I had big $1 bills. I've used them all my life. But my good friend, let me get this. I have a very good friend in Portugal who designed this bill for me. It's beautiful. Vanessa Viana from Portugal. She designed this bill and printed them too, and it's a $9 bill, which is funny looking. And because I never could get past $9, I think this is a much better souvenir for a kid. So here's what I want to show you is how we fold this thing. It's nothing fancy. It's an accordion fold. So you're going to fold it like that, okay? And now we're going to lay it over like this. But it's not going to be completely even with that edge, you see? That edge sticks out there. It's a little longer than the fold. And now this does go to that folded edge, like that, okay? And now we're going to come back. So we're going to fold this into a little bundle, but we're never going to cover up that little edge. There we go. And now one more fold like this, even with this folded edge, like that. And the last piece folds over, and I let that extend a little bit on this side. Are we clear? So it is an accordion fold, but I've got a little extension here and a little extension here. This is going to be on the, of course this is preset before the show. It's safer, of course, if it's in that flap. Honestly, if we wanted to be true to what's going on, it would be right here. And it could be, I just get a little worried about that. But if it's under that flap, nobody's gonna see that. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put that underneath the flap so it is completely secure and it's in the Himber wallet. So originally I pulled the money out of my wallet, which was a logical thing to do. And at the end, the kid counted apparently from $13, but he ran out after 9. And I closed that wallet and I accused that kid of being Sticky Fingers Adrian. And what I've done is I've positioned my thumb over the other side of the wallet so that I can push that open. And that all happens when I'm telling the kid, face the audience, big smile, and I open the wallet up like this. Now, the reason I say it doesn't matter if the bills are either on top of the flap or under the flap, yes, if you had people up in the grid directly over the stage, they would say, wait a minute, that's a big $9 bill. But if we look at it from the front, I'll tell you what I think. I think that looks like a stack of bills, right? Like exactly what I've been holding this entire time. I step behind the kid with my arms right around his shoulders, and I hold this right in front of his face, which looks like a stack of money. I say, blow on that stack of bills, and the kid blows, and it's very easy to grab those two extended ends, and I spread this out right in front of his face as I twist it upward. Hop! Big surprise, and the kid's a hero. Shake the kid's hand, he takes home the $9 bill, and that's the routine. That's it. So, you don't need this. I like the $9 bill. In the bill and cigar, as you saw, I give the guy from the cigar trick a big $1 bill, and it's just kind of something that says the end. So that's the poop on the $10 bill trick. So, of course, Willane's version in Methods for Miracles and the card trick, the 11 card trick was cards, and when Fred Capps started doing it with bills, he used 11 bills, and I never understood why. I always thought, it seems weird that when you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you kind of feel like you've arrived at your destination. 10. I mean, our whole mathematics system is based on tens. So I thought it feels better to me is to say, I need $10. All right, a nice round figure, $10. And when you count up to 9, you feel like you've almost made it, but you haven't quite. I just like 9 better. So I kind of back-engineered the whole thing to figure out how many bills I would need and when I would need to do the counts. In the original version also, it was complicated. First, you got $10 and you took 1, and you got $10 and you took 1, and then you took $3, and then you gave $2 back, and instead of having 10, you had 13. So you gave $2 more back, thinking you would now have 11, and instead of having 11, you had 10. It was complicated. And I'm thinking, man, when I'm working for people that have got a drink in their hand, and I'm saying now, 13 plus 2 is 11 plus 2 is, and now minus 2, and they're going, I don't have the slightest idea. This routine is much simpler than that. No matter how much money we think we've got, I'm always $1 short, I always have 9. Give me another $1, I still have 9. Well, give me another $1, I still have 9. Well, you count him, he has 9. So it's just plus 1 and we're missing 1, plus 1 and we're missing 1. Until the end, when I say, okay, we got to start over, we've gotten off to the wrong foot here. Take all the money, $13, take all the money and just give me 10. And now, instead of having like 12, 1 short, he's 4 short. So that's kind of the surprise finish. Wait a minute. This guy's losing $1 every time he counts the money, and now the kid counts the money, and he's lost $4 all at once. That's everything you need to know about
Yeah, and Mike, the
Yes.
other thing in those original counting versions, and there are multiple, like you said, ways to approach it. They never seem to have an ending. You know, they just sort of fizzle out, right? The guy gives up, kind of. In this one, there's a nice tag with the big bill.
Yes.
But even that, you say it still feels good to then go into a real money routine with it.
Yes. The trick without a finish, as Dan points out. That's why I thought sort of a finish is to, instead of having $1 bill disappear, all at once we have $4 disappear. That's presumably a little more amazing. And then, as if that weren't enough, I take the money out of the wallet, hold it in front of his face, blow, hup. I don't know that people are completely flabbergasted. Oh my God, how did that happen? Although I do think that is a perfectly legitimate illusion. When you hold the folded bill like that, I do think it can pass for a stack of bills, since they think the trick is over particularly. But what it is a big surprise. And the kid gets a nice little gift, and he's the hero and goes back to his seat, and that's that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It did feel right. It's like, well, I'd like to have something to finish this, or to at least follow this up. And I say, well, Adrian, apparently I didn't bring enough money to do that money trick tonight, and I did want to do a money trick. Maybe your pop's got some dough. Let's get his dad up and come on. And now Adrian's dad comes up, and we do deep into the night the bill and cigar trick. But that is the $10 bill trick as I saw it. It's all in the book, or right here.
Yeah, nice. Now, that brings us to the bill and cigar, and that's one that you were talking about that in the book is a lot more complicated than it seems from just viewing it. But it's worth it. So
I would agree.
Let's see what you've got going on.
All right. I'm going to scoot this over here because it's craft time. So here's how this started out. 1975, I went to the IBM convention in Little Rock, Arkansas. And the only thing I remember about it was the first time that Terry Seabrook came to America. It was a big hit. And of course, Seabrook did his burned a bill in the wallet routine. Big hit. And amazingly, he did a lecture and he sold this routine. You could buy the wallet and the whole routine. Well, me and everybody else bought Seabrook's burned bill in the wallet. I took it home and I tried it and I liked it. Here's the thing. Seabrook didn't invent the idea of burning up somebody's money and having it appear elsewhere. That was a much older idea. But he put a great routine to it and made it his own with all the gags and the bits of business. But anybody who borrows money from a spectator and then accidentally burns it up, that's just a funny situation. And you don't have to be a particularly funny person to get laughs by borrowing a bill from a spectator and then presumably doing a trick and going, uh-oh, something went wrong. I think I just burned up your money. And it is true, the larger the denomination bill, the more fun we're going to have. Because if you burn up a $1 bill from a guy, he might say, it was worth it, I had some fun. If you burn $100 up, the guy goes, you know something? I think I want my $100 back. I'm not happy here. So I do try to get the biggest bill I can. I went home, I did the Seabrook wallet, and so I had already started thinking about this idea of I want people to be able to come back and buy a ticket to see me again. So here are some things about the bill and wallet that sort of stuck in my craw. If the wallet's over in the inside pocket here, I'm going to steal the bill out of the envelope, and it's palmed in my hand. And then I'm going to go into my pocket here, right here. I'm going to load it, presumably to take a pen out of your pocket. Well, it doesn't take long to take a pen out of your pocket, and it takes a little longer than that to load a bill into a wallet and get that pen. The other thing is, I'm sure the first time an audience sees this, they're completely flabbergasted. They have no idea how this went in there. But if they come back later and see you again, now the element of surprise is gone. They know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep my eye on that bill. because somehow it's going to get into that wallet, which, if I recall, is in his inside coat pocket. And when it's time for you to get the pen and you go in like that, you go, oh, that's where the wallet is. And now you've started down that path. It happens to be the correct path. Now there's other obstacles for them to figure. I don't know how he could get it in there so fast. It was zipped up and all that stuff. But the point is that a dirty hand, a hand with something palmed, went into that pocket, and then a minute later, it's going to go back to that pocket and pull out a wallet, and that's where the bill's going to be. It's not a huge deal, but I thought I would love to get rid of that moment. The other thing I decided was, the guy's money is burned up, the envelopes are in ashes, and the trick is screwed up, and you say, well, I'm going to make this right. And at that point, you pull out your wallet. So they haven't seen this guy's bill for a long time. Now, it's amazing that it ends up inside this wallet, but the bill has been out of sight for a long time, and this wallet, we've never seen this wallet before when that comes into view and is immediately opened, and there's the bill. So the first thing I decided I wanted to do was maybe not have it appear in a wallet. I don't have any idea, this was so many years ago, I have no idea why I decided that the right answer was a cigar. But one of the things that it did when I decided that I would use this cigar is, when I took money from the guy, it just seemed logical for me to say, now wait a minute, I don't want to take your money without putting up some collateral. Well, that seems kind of goofy, but it's true. When you borrow money from a bank, they say, what kind of collateral do you have? So remember, my character is, I'm kind of an idiot. So, no, before I take your money, I want to put up some collateral, and lucky for you, I have a cigar of equal value. Now, when I borrowed $100 from the guy, that's the dumbest statement they've heard all night. You're telling me that's a $100 cigar, and this guy doesn't even smoke, he wouldn't give you 10 cents for it. But okay, that's your collateral. And I put it in his pocket. So now I have to go way, way back to the early days and show you, here it is, the gimmick that I made. I was so proud of this gimmick because I worked at Johnson Products making coin tricks. But in my spare time, and this of course came from the wallet, I said I need a gimmick that I can load a bill into a cigar when I go up to get the pen out of my pocket. I hadn't figured out this part yet. So out of sheet brass, I made this amazing gimmick. There's a little thing here that clips over something inside coat pocket. There's a little funnel here that tapers down and ends up into a round tube. I've got a rubber band around there to keep this thing pressed up against the long backside. I'm going to talk all about this gimmick cigar in a minute, but once the gimmick cigar is made, it fit up into there and then slid into this little shoe down at the bottom. So this is how it went. Now, this would get pinned into my coat right above the pocket in there, okay? So that was inside my coat. When I stole the bill out of the envelope, and I was going to write numbers on the envelopes, which I no longer do, I would reach in there. I've put one extra fold in the bill, and it would go right down that little funnel, down that funnel, and I would push as far as I could, and it ended up inside the cigar. That's going to make a lot more sense when I show you how I make this cigar. I was so proud of this method that I published it in my first book, Magic Comedy. I think that was 1981. And this is the method and the routine that I used, this crazy gimmick. And I can't tell you, over the years, I've had people come to me and say, hey, I got your Magic Comedy book, and look at that. And it always broke my heart, and I thought, oh, if only you'd thought a little longer, you would have realized you don't need this gimmick. This is a waste of time and effort. I mean, I needed it at the point I thought But as I continued to think about this routine, much, much improved method. And I now think that the finished routine, 40 years later, I say finished only because there might be improvements down the line. I should say the routine as it exists today, as it exists in that big book over there, I think if you owned a copy of Magic Comedy and you read the original version of this using this gimmick, and then you saw me perform it using that routine from the book, I think you'd be completely fooled. So eventually I decided, I don't like this. I'm doing the same thing the way they used to load the wallet, and I'm loading this cigar. I think there's got to be a better way. So first of all, I am going to show you, and I'm going to show you how I make these cigars. Now, it's going to seem like a tremendous amount of work. I feel that it's worth it because I can do this at home in my spare time. I make these up 2 dozen at a time, so it's not like I have to do this before every show. I can make a stack of these. Here's what you need. Go to the art store, buy a sheet of brown paper. Something sort of textury. What you're trying to do is find paper that looks like the outside of a cigar. This is okay. This isn't the best I've ever had, but it's okay. Brown, kind of textury paper. And I cut it in, I don't actually cut it. What size are these? This is 3 inches by 6.5 inches, all right? Brown paper. And instead of cutting them, I put on the edge of a table or on a ruler, and I tear these. I'll measure it and put a little line on that, but I'll tear these because I don't want a nice sharp edge. I want kind of a feathery edge, and a tear gives me that. Step 1. And I'll buy half a dozen sheets of paper and tear them all up so I have a big stack of cigar papers. And rubber cement, magician's best friend. I am going to coat this edge, more than this edge, almost half of that paper with rubber cement. And then I am going to go up and do almost all of the other half. That's all you need to do. If you decided to coat the whole thing, it wouldn't be a disaster, but that's what I do. Now we're going to let that set for a minute. And this can get very ugly. All this glue. Next thing, this is a piece of brass tubing. It is 2 7/8 inches long. If it was 3 inches, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And it is, I would say, 5/8 of an inch in diameter. Now what that means is that it's about the diameter of a cigar. I hate cigars, just for the record. Every cigar I've ever seen smells like a trash fire to me. But I buy the cheapest cigars I can find by the box full. King Edward. These used to be, when I started doing this, these were nickel cigars. I don't know how you can make anything for a nickel, but I get a big box of these, and that's what you get. A little cigar sealed in cellophane with that classic little cigar band, which I am going to save. We're going to need that little cigar band sooner than later. I'm going to get rid of the cellophane. Now I am going to take my trusty, I have a little serrated knife, and I'm just going to cut off one end of this cigar so that I have a nice square end. Okay? Now we go back to the magician's best friend. Probably a tie between rubber cement and Velcro. And I'm going to coat...
Magnets in a close third.
Boy, magnets, yeah. Magnets. All right, a little coating of rubber cement around the entire cigar. I'm going to just set that out of harm's way. And last but not least, I'm going to take the brass tube. I painted these brown originally. This one is still pretty brown. Some of them, and again, I made a couple dozen of these. Some of these, the brown paint has long since worn off, and the brass has tarnished to a perfect brown color. So I never bothered to repaint those. They're perfect. Just so it doesn't show up, because this is going to be inside of the cigar, and I don't want some polished brass metal to be seen inside the cigar. Not that you can really see it. I'm going to set that maybe right here. And while we're waiting for these other things to dry, I'm going to take a little dab of rubber cement and put it on both sides of that end and on both sides of that end of the little tab. Are we seeing that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good. Just a little bit on the ends of that tab. And finally, this is about dry. I'm going to turn this over. And I am going to coat just the end closest to me. I realize this is all very mysterious, but it will soon make perfect sense. I realize this is just about as exciting as it is to watch glue dry, but there you go. Okay, we're going to put this away, and we are now ready to assemble a cigar. In Los Angeles, basically within a 30-minute drive of my house, I'm convinced that you can find anything. With the movie studios and the downtown and all the businesses in Los Angeles and Orange County, I truly think everything is there if you know where to look. 40 years ago, I went downtown, I'm poking around, and I found a little old guy rolling cigars. Amazing. And I went in, I'm sure I didn't tell him that I was making a bill and cigar trick, but I said, where can I get those little plastic wrappers that you put your finished cigars in? He pulled down a massive box. I'm still using, believe it or not, maybe I don't work that much, that box of wrappers. It had thousands of them, and I bought the whole box of wrappers from this guy, and these are real cigar wrappers. So we're going to use one of these in just a moment.
And I would imagine, like everything else, you can now go online.
Of course. I'm sure that guy's dead and buried. Everything's online.
Yep.
You don't have to live in Los Angeles to find anything on earth. It's all in your keyboard. So, I've got this edge coated on the back side, and I've got both edges coated on the front side. And I am going to lay this down with the two coated ends face up, and this edge closest to me on the back side is the one that has rubber cement on it. Now, I hope I've given this all enough time. The tube with the dry rubber cement is going to go up at this end, and I'm going to press that into place just like that. And the cigar that we cut the end off, the squared off end, goes flush up against the end of the tube, and I'm going to lay that right down and press it onto this back edge of the brown paper. Excellent. And then we're going to start to rock and roll here. I'm going to push that back edge against the tube and the cigar. And if the rubber cement has been given enough time to dry, yikes, it's going to stick, and we're going to roll it and keep rolling it. And now what comes up on the back side is that other side that we coated with rubber cement. And I'm going to roll that very tight, just like that. And what do you know? I'm going to seal this edge down. This is the edge that we tore instead of cut. And as I smooth that down with my thumbnail, it kind of disappears. Pretty much disappears. And because we approximated all that with the rubber cement, there'll be a little rubber cement down there, and I'll take my thumb, and because it is rubber cement, it's very easy to rub off all the excess cement. Riveting, isn't it? Just like that. Now, I happen to know that I'm going to, in fact, this is how I measure these. I'll tell you how I arrived at this length. This is a completed cigar. So I'm going to line up these two ends with the brass tube inside and make them perfectly even back here. Then I'm going to take this little serrated knife and go right there. So this cigar is going to be exactly the same length as that cigar. And I'm going to saw right through there, just like that. One more tiny dash of rubber cement. I'm going to find that edge. This is actually the edge. This is the brass tube in there, and I'm going to go right in the middle of that brass tube, and right over the edge, I'm going to put a little spot of rubber cement that big. Going to have that dry. Then I'm going to go get my King Edward cigar band. And I'm going to lay one end right in the middle of that little splash of rubber cement. Press it down. Wrap it around. And bring the other end right over on top. Remember, we pre-glued both of those ends of the cigar band. Get off the excess rubber cement. So here's how I can tell where the seam is. Not that anybody's going to see it. I just like to know where it is. If the label of the cigar band is facing the audience, that means that the seam is facing me. That's all I need to know. Okay? So that's a finished cigar. It looks good from this end because that's got the tobacco showing. It looks less good from this end because that's a 3-inch brass tube in there. I'm going to put it tobacco end first into this wrapper. Okay. Push it down, and then when I get near the bottom, I'm going to push it just up to the bottom and no further. You can see that wrapper is longer than it needs to be. I am going to cut all but about a 1/2 inch off of that wrapper, so there's about a 1/2 inch or so protruding from the top. We see that? Very good. And that little 1/2 inch up there, I'm just going to tuck down into the brass tube. What could be easier than that? Well, anything, now that I think of it. Okay, and that, my friends, is a finished cigar ready to go. Now let me get this stuff out of the way. Oh yes, more gimmicks.
Yeah, because making the cigar is just part of it.
A small part. Mm-hmm. I've been making these cigars. I made a dozen cigars just the evening before I came back here. I do it in my sleep. Once you learn how to do it. To do one, I mean, I can do, I did them like 6 at a time, 2 batches of 6 at a time. You coat up the paper, and while the paper's drying, I cut the cigar ends off, I coated up the cigars. While those are drying, coated up the tubes. By now the paper, I flip the papers over, I do the back side of that, I glue up the bands. So I'm never having to stand around and wait for glue to dry. And then you just put the brass tube down, the cigar down, you roll it up, you smooth off the glue, you put the next tube, the next cigar, you roll it up, rub off the cement, and it goes pretty quick. Okay. Finished Bill and Cigar cigars. So here's the next thing. Seabrook and virtually everybody else uses 4 envelopes. I've never understood why. There's nothing wrong with 4 envelopes. But I thought, I wonder why 4 envelopes? Why not 3 envelopes? I thought, I'll try 3 envelopes and see what's wrong with it. Well, there was nothing wrong with it. So I used 3 envelopes. Oh yes. I take just a sheet of blank paper, typing paper, or paper you'd put in your computer. I laid a $1 bill down there and put little light pencil lines on the paper. And is that 1 sheet? Oh, that's 2 sheets, better yet. Good. And now I'm just going to cut out pieces of blank paper that are the size of an American bill. There's 2 there, 2 there, and 2 here. I take 3 envelopes. I take a piece of paper and I'll fold it in half and I'll put it inside this envelope and I'll seal the envelope closed. One of those. I'll fold up another piece of paper in half, stick it in this envelope, and seal that envelope closed. Envelope number 3, special attention. I will take, I will take a pair of scissors. You're going to see this from above. And so the flap's on this side. And I'm just going to make the tiniest little, there. Cut off just a piece from about here, not all the way to the end, to about here. That now is open, that much. The other routines I saw, I know Seabrook's was like this because I published his book. He had a slit in the front of the bill here, and to disguise it, that's why he wrote fire insurance on the front of the envelope, which was fine, and nobody ever saw the line. Again, for some reason, I decided I wasn't going to number the bills. I didn't need to do that, and if I just cut the bottom off. Dan, have you got a bill?
Yeah, I've got a $1, which is
good.
not going to make it fun.
Won't be funny.
Yep.
But I'll be able to continue the explanation. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Dan will write his name on the bill. I fold the bill once. I fold the bill twice, just like that. When I say that in the routine, I actually say I will fold the bill once, fold the bill twice, and as I say fold the bill into a tiny packet, I'm actually folding it a 3rd time. Again, with a big audience, they hear me say, I'll fold it once, fold it twice. I think they probably think that it was folded 2 times instead of into a super tiny packet. I then take, these envelopes go over here. I take his bill and I place it into the envelope. Oh, I forgot to tell you. One of the blank pieces of paper goes in this envelope, but way down at this end. So the blank paper's in there, my opening is up here. So that way I can get into this envelope and not get in the way of that blank paper that's hiding in there, okay? I take his bill, I put it into the envelope. I show this to the audience, but I'm sure that not everybody can see it. So what I'm really doing is showing it to the spectator. and I push that in like that. I say, you can see that the bill is in the envelope, correct? And he can. Yes, he does see it's in the envelope. And then I kind of relax my shoulders and I look up at him and say, and I don't want you to worry about the money. And he always looks at me right in the eye. When you talk to somebody, that's where they do look. And as soon as I see that he's looked me in the eye, I push that bill right straight through out the slit in the bottom of the envelope, basically into thumb palm position. And I raise this up, and I'm really covered all the way around. I don't worry about him seeing it. I certainly don't worry about the audience seeing it because they're looking at this. I'm just holding the envelope. And I say, I don't want you to worry about the money. And as I'm saying that, I'll go down here so you can see, my thumb or the envelope is pulled right off the bill, and I re-grip the envelope from the end like that. Now, once again, the bill is completely covered again all the way around, because that's how you hold an envelope when you want to lick the flap closed. Don't worry about the money. Anything happens to your money, I'll be more than happy to and nobody has any idea what I'm saying as I seal this envelope closed, okay? And then I say, all seriousness aside, anything happens to your money, I'll be more than happy to replace it with a nice, fresh, crisp 20 or whatever it happens to be. Well, that sounds better. If anything happens, he gets a nice, fresh, crisp 20 and everybody's happy. The important word there is crisp. That's going to be a callback later, all right? So now, once again, I'm holding the envelopes here. There's nothing to see, but the bill is already sort of in a finger palm, but covered up by the envelopes. And now I tell the spectator, put your feet together, face the audience, and he kind of snaps to attention. Uh-oh, what's going on? He puts his feet together, and he faces the audience, and I say, take those envelopes. And of course now, the bill, the hand with the bill palm, drops dead to my side. Take those envelopes, and as if to show him what I want him to do, I say, put both hands behind your back. And all I'm doing is showing him what I want him to do. Well, I have to stop here for just a moment. I'm going to put the bill here. Remember I was talking about the dirty hand goes right up to where the wallet is going to appear in just a minute. And that's what I didn't like. People are kind of looking at what you're doing at that point. So, I decided this is another slight detour for this routine. When I was a kid, way back doing birthday party shows, one of the tricks I did was the nest of boxes. I loved the nest of boxes. It seemed unbelievable that you could borrow anything, a coin or anything, a watch, have it marked or whatever, a ring, and then unstack 4 boxes, and I even had the ball of wool. I actually used a ball of wool sometimes. It's an unbelievable trick when you get down into the middle of all that stuff. There's the borrowed object that was just borrowed a minute ago. It seems like it would take half an hour to put it inside all this stuff. So I loved the nest of boxes trick. And what I had at this point was a cigar inside of a cellophane wrapper. Not exactly a nest of boxes, but at least 2 objects nested together. And what I used to do is I just used this cigar. I would pull this cigar out and put it in the spectator's pocket, coat pocket like that. Now that was kind of a gutsy move. It looks fine from here, but he's going to have that for a few minutes. And once he realizes, uh-oh, I think my money's gone, and this is the collateral, sometimes they would do that. And now I wouldn't panic, but I would say, no, that's your collateral. That comes later. And I'd put it back in there. So this is a little dangerous right here. And I thought I can make this less dangerous, and I can make this effect more amazing. Because really nice cigars come inside individual tubes. And I went to a cigar store, and they had all these aluminum tubes. with printing on them, saying the El Product, whatever kind of cigar it was. So I bought some of these. And back to Johnson Products, because I now had to make the most complicated thing here. The cigar inside is exactly what we just made. That hasn't changed a bit. But what this is, I originally used aluminum tubes, like I said. And it was neat. There was an aluminum tube followed by a cellophane wrapper, followed by the cigar. We broke the cigar in half, and there was the guy's bill. So I loved the three-pack there. But what would happen is that when I would pull this aluminum tube out of my pocket and give it to the guy, I used to be able to see, sometimes when the audience was close, I could see people going, and I'm convinced that what they were saying was, I'm saying this is a cigar, but it's aluminum. They don't know what's in there. And I think some people thought, I bet that guy's money in there. I don't know how it got in there, but that guy's money's going to be in there. And they didn't believe it was a cigar tube. And when I'd see somebody do this to the person next to them, I always wanted to stop the show and say, no. It really is a cigar. It's really a cigar in there, but you couldn't do that. So at some point I thought, well, I need to solve this problem because I hate that. So you go back to the cigar store and you find out that really nice cigars come in glass tubes. And I thought, that's good. Now, as soon as this tube comes into view, I'll give you this cigar as collateral. Well, everybody instantly, all right, that doesn't seem like very good collateral, but it is a cigar. So this now would go into the spectator's pocket, like that. And now I've kind of solved my problem of being worried if he reaches up there. If he reaches up there, he's not going to find anything, even though the cap to this tube is gaffed to the hilt. Back to Johnson Products. For many, many years, I was the guy that made stacks of quarters and stacks of halves. You know what that is. Little quarter rings or $50 rings with a hole drilled right down the side and a long rivet put in there and a little cap piece put on, and that rivet is very carefully rounded over on the top, and we would it's a little too loose and a few more taps, and it was just right. And then we would take another coin and bore that out on the backside and make it into a shell and glue that shell right over the little aluminum or steel part to cover up the rivet and the rest of that inside piece. We'd have a stack of quarters, stack of halves. Well, that's what I wanted for the top of this tube. This isn't a glass tube. This is actually a plastic tube. In fact, it is a piece of clear plastic tubing, and you can buy a hemisphere. A little half-round piece, you can see the plug in there, and that just got glued onto the bottom, giving me what appeared to be a glass cigar tube. Now, remember when I measured that cigar and cut the end off to make it exactly the right length? Well, this is the length that I was looking for. I want that cigar to come right up to the top of that plastic tube. This plastic tube I had to take back to Johnson Products and thread. I put a thread here, and then from scratch, I made this cap. And this cap basically is a stack of quarters. I have rubber cement all over my fingers. You can see the rivet right down inside there. I'm going to pivot this over. You can see that when this top gets pivoted out of the way, there's a big opening right in there. And the inside here, that inside edge in there, is threaded to match the tube. And when this is pushed back, I'll show you from the inside, we can seal that up. And it looks just like the cap that you would find on a cigar tube, okay? This cap gets screwed onto this tube, just like this. There's kind of a lot of threads, which I liked. It's not something you can do half a twist and have on there. It's a few revolutions. It now looks just like a fancy cigar. And when I pivot this top open, a big hole in the top is revealed. That hole is not so big that the cigar can fall out. It's just small enough to hold that cigar in place, but it gives me perfect access into the brass tube. So now I need a holder for this, and I've decided instead of loading it when I'm up here looking for something, whatever, and then load that and push it closed, I never liked that. I wanted a holder that would hold this behind me so that when I'm telling the spectator, take those envelopes, put them behind your back, and give them a good mix. Shuffle them up so that neither you nor I know which one contains the money. That's more than enough time for me to put one more fold in the bill and put it inside the cigar tube and close the cigar tube. And as much time and effort as I spend on fancy holders and gimmicks, I found that the best gimmick to hold this cigar tube is my belt, or and better yet, your belt. I'm going to turn around, put this right under my belt just like this, okay? And that's where that lived for years, just like that. And my coat is going to come down, a couple inches below the level of that cigar tube. Now I'm going to put my coat back on, and I am ready to go. So there's nothing to see from the backside except a microphone cord. And yes, I can feel the bottom of that tube right where it should be. So I have just stolen the bill out of the envelopes. I tell the spectator, I want you to put your feet together, face the audience, put both hands behind your back, and shuffle the envelopes. Give them a good mix so that neither you nor I know which one contains the money. So that's how long it took me to put another fold in the bill, put it up into the tube, and close the tube up. And I got to tell you, all the attention is on the guy over here because he's putting these back there and he's shuffling them up and he thinks it's funny. And so I think nobody's chasing me. That's the time to do that move. In the meantime, I've never gone anywhere near either one of my pockets, inside pockets. Here's how I show my hands empty, because in just a moment, I'm going to pull out the collateral. And instead of saying, as you can see, there's nothing in my hands, which immediately makes people think, is he hiding something in his hands? I don't want to say that. To me, the most effective way to show your hands empty is just like that, okay? If you can do that, you're not hiding anything in your hands. And I say, okay, give him a good mix. Sometimes I'll peek behind the guy like I'm trying to cheat. Give him a good mix. The international sign for shuffle. Give those envelopes a good shuffle. Now, I can't very well take your money, and I turn and talk directly to the guy, which puts this hand can easily go behind me. I'm not really going to move my arm much. It's mostly my wrist that's going to do the work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lift my coat up out of the way. My hand drops to my side, and while I'm telling the guy, I can't very well take your money without first putting up some collateral. And I would pull that out of my belt, and I will hold it right behind my arm like that. There were two ways I used to experiment with this. When I turned forward, I've just said he's going to get some collateral. And I would start to open my coat, and this arm would come like this, like I'm going to reach into this pocket. But what I'm actually doing, if we can show this from above, I wonder if that would show. Oh, fantastic. Oh, it's unbelievable. Look at that. See the end of that tube? One more inch, and it's going to clear the edge of my coat. Right there. And now, it's in my coat. And instead of reaching in there, oh, wait a minute, it's not on that side, it's on this side. This hand goes all the way in until I can grip the edge of the coat. And instead of putting my hand in down here, which doesn't make any sense, that's just me taking something out of my other hand, what I used to do is I would pivot this tube way up. And I'm going to reach way up here into my coat pocket. So now look how far away my hands are. I don't think they are associating with each other at that point. So here, I'll do it outside the coat. Here's where I'm at. The hand is like this. My hand goes in here. You'll be able to see this from the front. And as soon as my hand goes in my coat, this gets pivoted way up, and my hand pivots way down until it can take that, and it can pull the cigar tube out way up, way far away from my hand. And I thought, I love that idea. And I did that for a long time. I had this under my belt, and I would steal that out. Here's another, this is the other idea that I thought of. Once I pulled this thing free from my belt, I didn't pull it out of my jacket. I left it under my jacket, but just kind of the cap finger palmed. Not that I ever thought that I got caught, but look at this. The tube is under my coat, and I can bring my hand all the way around like that, and now I don't have to feed anything. The tube is already in the coat right from the beginning, and I just have to move my hand around that corner in the front, and come all the way up and pull the tube out like that. Okay, so I did that for a while. I'm telling you all the methods I use that I don't use anymore. Here's what that got me. I loved having the tube in my belt. I love having the nest of boxes. I liked having a glass tube instead of an aluminum tube. This cap, I'm in love with this cap. It's safe. I've never had anybody stumble into, wait a minute, what's going on here? So that's all good. But what wasn't good, the bills in the cigar, is that I was still reaching up here. That's right. When I stole the cigar, my hand was still dirty, okay? My hand was still dirty going up here with something. And I thought, the whole point of this whole thing was so that I could be super, super clean. I made one more gimmick. This is easy. Anybody can make this gimmick. It's a piece of sheet brass, heavy sheet brass, okay? And it's bent into a sort of a U shape. You can see that this end is longer than this end. And in that long end, I've made a little slot that I could push a piece of 1/2-inch elastic through and stretch that elastic up about 1 inch and sew it in place. And this, the length of that elastic, you will determine based on how tall you are, okay? But that's all that is a bent U-shaped piece of brass. And up at this end, I've got a 1-inch piece of elastic sewed to the end of that long strip, and on this end, there's a piece of black Velcro. And there we go, yes. So, I'm going to put the cigar tube in there, and this piece of black Velcro is right here now, and this other end has black Velcro, but it's not at the end. This isn't Velcro, but this part is. So down there is Velcro. This tab up here isn't Velcro. So I'm going to pull this tight around the cigar tube and push that down, and that's going to hold the tube just like that. But see what that tab gives me? That's really easy to find and really easy to pull, that black tab. Okay. Take my coat off one more time. It's a lot to explain, isn't it? It's crazy. All right. The brass piece I'm going to toss over my shoulder. This I usually put in later. This go here, and now the hook, I put that hook behind my belt and then back up so that the hook, you know what? I never wear that belt in a show.
Yeah, this belt you wouldn't.
That belt,
yeah.
No, it's really thick.
Yeah.
That hook barely fit on it, but it did. Okay. So that's where that goes. The elastic comes up over my shoulder. This is when I would attach my other piece of Velcro, just like this. It's pointing straight down. I'm going to open up the cap. I'll be able to adjust all this. I'm going to open up the cap, A little more. Good. And now this cigar is going to go where it always went. The elastic gets pulled tight, and that goes just like that. I always put the cap over to this side, just because I know where it is. Excellent. Here's what that gives me. Same thing, coat covers up everything. I can feel that the bottom of the tube is exactly where I want it. And you know, if I'm doing a long show, 45-minute show or something, this comes way later in the show, just before I do this, I can do a little quarter turn like that and just check the position of the tube. And if I'm running around the audience or doing different things or juggling coffee or something, this could get out of position. So that's why before I do this trick, I'll just feel it and just that easily pull it back into position, and I'm ready to go. So, where were we? I think I already loaded it.
Yeah, that bill's already
loaded. The bill's in there. So, here's what happens. I load the bill in the cigar. Remember, my hands are behind my back. Everybody's watching the spectator as I say, give those envelopes a good shuffle. I close the tube, and I pull the tube out of my belt and let it go. And it's done. I say, give him one more shuffle, international sign for shuffle, okay? Now, hands are empty. I can't very well take his money without first putting up some collateral. They see my hands are completely empty. During this entire routine, I've never gone near this inside coat pocket until right now with an empty hand. And what that accomplished was, as soon as I pulled that tube out of my belt and let it go, it was pulled right where I wanted it, right up next to my coat pocket, okay? That's why you have to experiment with the length of that elastic, piece of long elastic. That's where you want it to end up. So when I reach in there, it's really easy to find that tab. I just pull that tab open, and don't pull it out like that, because that wasn't in a pocket. As soon as you pull the tab open, pull it up and out, like it's coming out of the pocket. A cigar of equal value. Anything happens to the money, you keep the cigar. And I put that into his pocket. Sometimes it's a brand new suit. This coat pocket on his jacket is stitched closed. An extra 3 minutes of laughs. People find that just hilarious. I don't know why. But what is this, a rental suit? I think you should buy it. You look great. Come on, spring for the new clothes. So finally this goes into his pocket, or it can go, if he's not wearing a jacket, it can go in his wherever it's handy. The point is, the audience and the spectator believe that he is holding the 3 envelopes behind his back with the money in them, in one of them. He just saw you slide that bill into the envelope, verified for everybody that yes, it really is in the envelope, and we sealed it up and immediately handed him the envelopes. Put those envelopes behind your back. Your hands are completely empty. If anyone thinks, oh, I wonder if it... No, you don't have anything. He doesn't have anything. His hands are empty. Give him a good mix. And now, while he's still mixing the envelopes with his money, presumably in it, that's when I bring out the collateral and I put it in his pocket. Anything happens to the money, you keep the cigar. Fair enough? Yes, it is. Okay. So now I'm in a great position. He already has the collateral. Unlike the wallet trick, with the original wallet routine, they're not going to be introduced to this wallet until 20 seconds before you unzip it and pull the money out of it, the envelope out of it. This one, by calling it collateral, he has it way, way earlier. So he takes the envelopes out, you take the envelopes back, we spread out the envelopes, he gets to choose whichever one he wants. You know what? And I know what you're saying. What happens if he picks the one with the split in it? Well, I don't know. I'll bet 500 times they've picked the one with the split in it. I never keep track of it. I don't care if he picks it. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to get burned up well, that won't. If he keeps it, it won't get burned up. I don't consider it a problem. If that's the one he wants, that's the one he wants. It's funny, though, how you can get them to change their mind. Sometimes if I see that he's got the one with the slot, and it's pretty tough to see, believe me, I'll say, change your mind? Change your mind. Go ahead. Change your mind. It's up to you. And so he's sort of thinking, well, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to change my mind. If he does or he doesn't, it doesn't matter. Eventually he ends up with one envelope. He puts it in his pocket, leaves me with 2 envelopes. That's when the lighter comes out. I light the envelope on fire. That, of course, frees the magician from any responsibility. Boom, the envelope starts on fire. There's nothing to worry about. You can still change your mind. You can put this one in your pocket. That's the one that's on fire. Wait a minute, hold it just a second. Now I light the second one on fire. Just see that you get $20 worth of laughs out of this whole thing, okay? And I drop this into the pan. You need a receptacle. I went to a junk shop where all good magic props can be found, and I found this is called a silent butler. I think this is for scraping off the table,
crumbs off
breadcrumbs.
the table. Yeah.
Is that right? They have a little device. Yep. I thought, I like that. That's perfect.
You won't find many of those, though.
No, you got to go to a junk shop like I did. So here's something I discovered. There is going to be a little bonfire in here. And again, I'll perform this anywhere. I've performed this in people's living rooms and on up. Well, I'm a little worried about setting a bonfire on their $10,000 Persian rug, because this is a metal box, it gets hot. Here's what I did. I made a little extra bottom out of aluminum, and I drilled 4 holes in there and put 4 little bolts through with cap nuts on the bottom. And those cap nuts act as little feet. Those cap nuts are going to hold this box just that much off the floor and keep the direct heat off the floor. And this false bottom, which rests on top of those little bolt heads in there, those bolt heads are going to hold that aluminum floor the same amount, a quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch off the bottom. So it's sort of a couple layers of insulation in there. So that's my little fire receptacle. And it does contain the fire. And when you kick the lid closed, it's completely contained and safe. So this has been a good thing for me. I love doing that, just because I'm an idiot. I have the guy hold his hand out, and I set this on his hand, and I say ah. The guy always goes, ah. And I say, no, the box, ah. And it's funny. All right, so he's standing there holding the box like this. I light the 2 envelopes on fire, and the 2 envelopes go into the box, and I take this over and set it on the floor. And it's blazing away. Let us review what has taken place. On Carl's instructions, I have burned these 2 envelopes. Complete lie. Complete lie. Carl, if it was up to him, he'd say, don't burn anything. Are you crazy? But I put all the blame on Carl, and I'm over here, and I also love this little gag. This is on the floor. And as I'm saying that, and that's burning, on Carl's instructions, I have burned these 2 envelopes. And I'm like over the campfire, warming my hands. Doesn't make any sense, but it looks funny. Okay? On this side, we have 2 envelopes that have been burned. Over here, we have, and last night it was a psychiatrist, or psychologist, what was he?
Psychologist. Yeah.
Psychologist, that's right. Over here, we have a psychologist that has been burned. I'll always say whatever his job was, that's what I'll say. He's been burned, which is sort of a double meaning, and that always gets a laugh. I go, wait a minute. You've still got 1 envelope. Pull out the envelope. He tears open that envelope, he tears open the envelope, and he reaches inside, and he pulls out a piece of blank paper. So the way I like to play this, because I'm an idiot, I want to be the last guy in the room that discovers something horrible has gone wrong. So I'm already pumping the daylights out of the end, my big finish. Tear open that envelope, reach inside, pull out the $20 bill. By this time, he's got the envelope open, and he's pulled this out. Uh-oh. Make sure it's got your name written in your own handwriting right across the face. Hold it up so the folks in the back can see that it is, in fact, the very same $20 bill. By this time, everyone realizes this guy's completely screwed this thing up. And And now I finally looked over at him, and he's like, dude, it's blank paper. I take the paper, I take the envelope from him. What the heck? What the heck? And I come over here and I stamp out the fire. Kick the box closed. And I stand there. And sometimes I stand there for an inordinately long time. This is uncomfortable. And then, because I'm an idiot, I blame him for everything. You picked the wrong envelope. Now these people don't think I can do this trick. And then the gag that everybody does, I'd give anything to know who came up with this joke. Give me another $20 bill. I'll prove to you that I can do this once and for all. Very old gag, very funny gag. Well, even if the guy does have another, and especially with a $100 bill, even if he did have another one, I'm the last guy in the world he's going to give it to. And I say, oh, your last 20, eh? A fine kettle of squid. Well, and I've got this in my hands. I've taken these from him. He didn't give these to me. I took these from him. No, you keep this. That's your receipt. Funny line. It's all tax deductible. You write it all off. Like that's going to make this mess okay. So he now gets to keep a blank piece of paper. Nothing to worry about. Didn't I tell you, and here comes the callback, didn't I tell you that if anything at all happened to your $1 bill, I know it's a 20, but I miscall it as a, and somebody, if not him, somebody was a 20. Thank you very much. Got a memory like an elephant, this person. You're right, it was $20. And I said if anything at all happened to your $20 bill, I'd be more than happy to replace it with a nice, fresh, crisp 20, right? Then you'd be happy. The guy says, well, if you replace my 20, yes. Fair enough. And as I'm walking over here, people start to get it. Not all at the same time, but they start, sorry, pal, that's about as crisp as I can get it. Well, now they see the double meaning. A nice crisp 100 or a nice crispy pile of ashes is what I've got in here then. There's nothing to worry about. Now I scoop the ashes into the envelope. I want you to take this down to the bank first thing in the morning. Just tell them you were out for an evening of entertainment you gave to a perfect stranger, a $20 bill. Well, I don't know how perfect he was. And he burned it up, didn't he? That's right. And all you and your friends did was laugh like crazy. Yes? Then I want you to hand them this lucky envelope, and they will tell you exactly what to do with it. A line right out of Terry Seabrook's original routine. So he gets an envelope full of ashes. And I'm a little uncomfortable here. Thank you very much. And I'm just standing there, and he doesn't know what to do. He's thinking, am I really supposed to go back to my seat and let this chowderhead burn up my money and not do anything about it? So he kind of stands there, and I kind of stand there, very awkward. And I notice he's still there. I don't like the way you're taking this whole ugly mess, my friend. You came down here tonight to have a good time, right? They always say yes. And I say, well, good times cost money. Gets a laugh. All right. I'm starting to realize how ridiculous this is. I admit, I'm the dummy that burned up the money. But he's the one that gave $20 to a dummy. I'm such a dummy that I didn't realize that I just called myself a dummy. That's how stupid. So there's only one fair way to handle this. We're going to have to share the blame, you and me, right? But and the guy says, well, what am I going to do? Okay, we'll share the blame. But in that case, we must share the collateral. And I pull this out of his coat pocket. Remember, a cigar hermetically sealed in an airtight glass tube. Airtight. Listen, I will break the seal. And I hold this cap right up to his ear, and I bend my head right down to the microphone and go, pfft. Always gets a big laugh because it is so monumentally stupid. Like I think I'm fooling people that was the tube. And after I do that, I go, oh, did I get any on you? Kind of under my breath. And I unscrew this cap, many, many screws, and I say, oh, they think of everything. Now I've got this tipped away from him. I don't want him looking right down the barrel of this thing. So the cap comes off, they think of everything, and I shake this cigar, sealed in cellophane, to keep in the... Well, of course the word I'm hunting for is aroma, but I'm an idiot. Let's not forget that. To keep in the long pregnant pause, to keep it in, like that made it better, that I say, whatever I'm trying to think of, you know what it is, to keep it inside. I drop this back here in the box.
You got your scissors over here. You're looking for those? The long,
the old scissors.
Long scissors, yeah.
I've always used a big pair of scissors in my act. I used a big pair of scissors way back in my first act. I said I did the money machine. I would take a dollar bill and snip it off the end of this printed roll of bills. I used them then. That set of scissors I would stick in my belt like that, and they would stay there for the rest of my act. At the end of my linking coat hanger routine, the coat hanger would link on that and pull it out of my belt, and I'd end up with a hacksaw, a coat hanger, and a pair of scissors at the finish. I've always had a big set of scissors in my act. Now at the end of my act, I use the same scissors in my scissors through the coat routine, where I produce all the silverware out of the spectator's coat, followed by trays and a metal pitcher and a live chicken, okay? I say the same scissors, that's a lie. I bought 2 pair of these scissors, so they are identical scissors. The scissors in the scissors through the coat routine gaffed to the hilt. And in my act coat, that's the houndstooth coat I had last night, over on this side, I have one little compartment there. It's actually an aluminum cigar tube, because eventually the point of those scissors, even though I've dulled and rounded them off, will poke through the bottom of that inside coat pocket. I don't want that. So they actually sit inside of a metal cigar tube, and they don't move. And the other pair of scissors can fit in a little tube right next to them. So no matter what, I know which pair of scissors is which. The back pair are the gaffed pair for the scissors through the coat, and the front pair is a real pair of scissors. Where am I at? We pulled that cigar out of the glass tube, sealed in cellophane to keep it in. By using this pair of cuticle scissors that I have embedded in my chest, this gets a reaction. They don't expect. First of all, it's certainly not a pair of cuticle scissors, and it's bigger than a pair of scissors they would expect you to have in your coat. And now the line that Di Vernon told me not to use. And I've ignored him for 40 years. But I appreciated his input. Professor was a great help always. I start to snip this cigar open. In fact, I will snip this cigar open. A little snip is all it takes. A little snip. It won't be long now. That's what the rabbi said. Now that's a funny line. These scissors then go back into my pocket. If there's a little kid in the audience, they're not going to have any idea what that means. And if there's grown-ups in the audience that think that's funny, they'll laugh a lot. And I don't make a big thing out of it. I say, I can't wait for you, like he didn't get it. And I strip the cellophane down the cigar and pull it right off the end. And that half-inch end that we tucked into the brass tube, it just pulls right out of that brass tube, and I toss that on the floor. If you look at the angle of this cigar, Dan can see it, but that end of the audience would not be able to see it. And if a guy was sitting right there,
You don't see much anyway.
Yeah, you don't see much. I'll let you see it. That's what you see, okay? But yeah, if I was in a dance floor or something surrounded on 3 sides, I just turn it a little further towards me. That goes on the floor, and now I take it in this hand, and I can show it all the way around because my fingers are hiding that dirty end. We're going to share this, share the blame 50-50. I'll break the cigar right down the middle. You get to choose the half that you want. Fair enough? And I'm really always letting the audience see there's nothing else in my hands. Now, when I break this cigar open, it's going to break at that joint between the brass tube and the real cigar. So I'm going to grip it like this, And because I can see that the label here is facing the audience, I know that the seam in the brown paper is facing me, and that's where I really want it. I'm going to break this in half, so I'm going to grip the cigar, put my thumbs right on the back side, and that will facilitate it being broken right in the middle. And now my fingers are going to move back out. I want this to be as clear as possible. What they don't see, I'm going to tip my hand up, is this little finger right here. This little finger is going to go inside the brass tube. I'm touching his bill right now. Now, I don't lift the cigar up like that. I've just snapped it in half, and my little finger is now in that back end of the brass tube touching his bill. And as I turn towards the spectator, and as I break this cigar open more, my little finger is pushing, 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 because if I didn't do that, he would have a hard time grabbing on to that bill. Okay? But if I push, 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 he now can see the edge, kind of the border of that bill. It's that white part sticking out right there. And it is easy for him to grab onto that and pull it right out of there. Okay? So I'm going to just back up. Thumbs on the back edge, snap that cigar in half, little finger goes right there. And as I break that open, look at that. Little end of the bill protrudes from the tube. He sees right here, he sees exactly what I want him to see, a bunch of nasty, cheap tobacco. And right over here, he sees that bill. He's a little relieved, I have to say, that there's a bill, even if it is inside of a cigar. It seems impossible that it's going to be his bill, but if it's a $20 bill, he's happy. So he pulls this out of the bill. That's the only time that brass tubing is sort of exposed. But people can't believe that this is his bill either. So there's a lot of attention on that bill, which he holds up. I say, unfold that bill. This I toss back in. I work off of a stool. This is sitting on top of the stool, so that goes right into the box. Unfold that bill. If that has your name on it, we have nothing less than a miracle. Is that the same one? Now, if he opens up, the spectator, he didn't ask to be there. He doesn't know the proper showmanship or stagecraft to make this as effective as possible. So he might go, well, that doesn't read to the front row. Is that your name written right across the face? And regardless of how he says it, he said, I say, yes, if it is, we have nothing less than a miracle. Is that the same bill? Yes, indeed. And I take the bill from him. I snap that open, and his writing is right here. And I let as many people as possible. And by doing this, presumably the front row is going, son of a gun. That really is. I recognize that writing because you showed it to us right after he wrote it at the beginning of this routine. So I'm hoping that after the first couple of rows sign off that yes, this is the same bill, that the rest of the audience will go, must be the same bill, or this wouldn't be a magic trick. And since this guy's a magician, I'll assume this is. Now, remember what we did with the bill to put it in the wallet, the $9 bill with that accordion fold. Same thing. This is a big $1 bill. I've accordion folded that, and I've got an edge here and an edge here. And that goes in my pocket upside down so that can be there with the cigar and everything. They're not in each other's way. So once, if that's got your name written on it, we have nothing less than a miracle. Is that the same one? The guy says yes. The very same $20 bill, and as I get over to this point, facing that way, you can see this hand is pretty much out of view. I pull that, and again, I'm not trying to make this into a big magic trick. It is a surprise though. And I come back, and this hand comes straight up, and as soon as it gets there, I snap that thing open. And I don't know, it's not supposed to be a transformation from one to the other. It's just a big surprise. In fact, I want him to see that he's getting both of these bills back. Big round of applause for the spectator. He takes the little bill, he takes the big bill. This is sort of a neat souvenir. I've had, after shows, I've autographed lots and lots of these big bills. It says Secretary of Treasury, Michael Caveney. That's me. So I did change some things on these bills. What does that say? Treasurer of the United States, Tina Leonard, signature. So these are kind of personalized bills for us. A big fancy $1 bill. He gets a nice little souvenir, and that's the trick. Okay? A lot of words, a lot of work, but once you've made, the big one is to make that cigar tube. But like I said, I've made this once in my life, and I swear I've used it for 40 years, and I'll use it till the day I drop dead. So that's all right. The elastic, so that elastic gimmick, what happened to that? Well, my coat is holding the end of that in place, pressing it down onto my shoulder. Now, if I take my coat off, which I will do at the end of the show, that elastic's going to drop back there. But I've never had to put a special gimmick or anything to hold that in place. There, it just fell off my shoulder. I'm going to take that off my belt, just like that. That's an easy gimmick to make. Oh, there's my scissors. Regular pair of scissors. Envelopes, easy. Cigars, a little more time consuming. You need, but again, once you make, after the show, I'll break this off. I'll throw this tobacco half in the trash. Once I get home, I'm going to peel this brown paper and cigar band off of this brass tube, like this. I'm going to rub the rubber cement off that tube, and it'll be ready. I wonder how many shows that little tube has been in. I have hundreds, I'm sure. Today, I find many places, fortunately not here, but many places, oh, you can't burn anything. Okay, if it's in a little metal box, no, you can't light a match in here. You can't light a match, really, because the whole building's going to burn down, and the answer is yes, because the whole building might burn down. So you can't do it. So what to do? One thing you can do, where am I at here? What has that got in it? We're going to find out. You get yourself one of these. My little magic wand. So he selects one of the envelopes. There's still time to change your mind, right? And he does or he doesn't, I don't care. And instead of lighting them on fire, it's not as good, but we have a little holder for the last envelope. Change your mind? No? And this goes through a little battery-operated paper shredder, okay? And the second one, the same way. They're not burned up, but they're in pretty bad shape, okay? What I'll do at the end then, after he opens his envelope and it's the wrong envelope, it's got blank paper. Okay, don't panic. And I'll scoop up all these little pieces and I'll put them in his hand and take off a piece of tape and lay a piece of tape over there as if I have repaired his bill with pieces of tape, and he gets to go back to a seat like that. Completely ridiculous, but this is what an idiot would do when he screwed up this badly, okay? So this isn't as good as burning up the envelopes, I don't think, but it allows me to at least perform a 10-minute routine in my act. What have I forgotten, Dan?
I think that's it. I think that...
that's enough.
Well, I'm pretty sure it covers everything people need to know. What I'm going to do is move this back here and ask you to come and sit with me again. We'll talk a little bit more about what's in the books. Like you mentioned, the real challenge of the built-in cigar is the outer cigar tube. It's worth somebody going to a machinist to have it made, or worth them trying to find a way to make it. Maybe they've got other options to do there. I know what I would do. It's not what you would do. what I would actually do is I would find somebody to make that for me. But in
That's
the interim,
the right answer.
But in the interim,
Yep.
I would probably get a snap cap
Yep.
and do a star trap on it or something, something like that. It's not nearly as beautiful as the machined metal piece, but it would still, still
So
work.
does that mean there'd be a star trap?
Yeah, but you want to make it.
You
want to make a good star trap out of a nice thin plastic, and then decorate it as though it's the top part of it. Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's lots of ways around.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I guess I was lucky that I spent 10 years in a machine shop making gimmick coins and making stacks of halves. But if you look at this, and it's all detailed in this book, these big photographs of this little cap inside
you would just be
and
able to
outside.
take that right to.
So if
somebody
you
who
went
knows
to a
what
machinist, he would look at that and go,
Yeah, I can make
it's a
that.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
I know how to thread things, so I can thread this, and you just knock that thing out in an hour, and you're kind of good to go.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's definitely the way to do it. If somebody wants to do this, they're going to make the commitment to it, and it's worth committing to.
Now,
sure.
and on the other hand, I did it for years without a tube.
Yeah, we're just using the
With
cellophane.
just that cigar, it's not as good, it's not as safe, it's still a great trick.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I spent my whole life trying to find those additional layers. What's cleaner, what's more mysterious, what's going to fool the guy on the second time watching, the third time watching. So that's how you end up with all
And then there is the other side to this. Although it's fine for somebody to take a routine or anything they want to and perform it out of the book, one of the purposes of your book is to show people how much they can do with their own routines, how they can think about them in the way that you've thought about yours.
I mean, that's the real secret. Because I love hanging out with other magicians, and I have good friends that are great magicians, and I love sitting backstage with guys while they're setting up their acts. It's so amazing, all the details and all the things that they have figured out to make things easier and better and simpler and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is that all the really great magicians, this isn't my story, this is everybody's story. I don't know anything harder than trying to develop a really nice, good, complete, finished routine of magic. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that can go wrong, and you have to be the script writer, you have to be the choreographer, you have to be the builder, you have to be the designer, you have to be the creator. I mean, there's all these jobs that fall onto your shoulders. And if you screw up one of them, you might end up with a lousy routine. And I just watching these other guys and see the great lengths and trouble that they've gone through to develop their material, and to go, you know what? There are no shortcuts. Mm-hmm. If you want to do this, you're in for the long haul.
Yeah, and also you keep developing, and same thing with me and most of the greats. We're satisfied with the routine, but man, keep thinking about it. Trying to improve it.
Well, the best example of that is what I saw recently on Penn and Teller. Here he is, Dan Harlan.
Oh, yeah.
Dan comes out and he says, he's going to do cartoon. I do cartoon. Everybody, I love cartoon. And Penn and Teller are thinking exactly the same thing. Mm. Well, this is a great trick. Of course, we know this trick, but Dan's a great guy. And okay, we'll give him his 5 minutes of fame here. And they said, that's great, Dan, and we love people seeing them do their own creations. But we know how it works. And they go, actually, you don't know anything. And Penn's head exploded. Here's the cards. Thank you very much. And he's just fried their hands. So that was just a great example of exactly what you just said.
And that's the thing. I actually, this is the first time I'm saying it, public for everybody. I actually developed that routine for Dynamo to use in his live shows. But then Jamie Raven performed cartoon on Britain's Got Talent, and so Dynamo could no longer do it. Anyway, so I had it in my hip pocket waiting for something.
You found the right moment for it.
Yeah, it actually worked out well for me. Now, speaking of right moments, this is a great segue. I wanted to talk about a couple of things in the book.
Sure.
One of them is more of a story, but it ends up being a really good method. Can you talk about when you were working with a famous ventriloquist at the Magic Castle?
Well, this started out as what I thought was a hilarious idea. Our good friend Jay Johnson, anywhere in America when I've worked with a ventriloquist, I always say, who's your favorite ventriloquist? And almost to a man, they've said, well, technically, the best ventriloquist is Jay Johnson. Now, they might have other favorite, vents, but everybody said, technically, for ventriloquist skills, Jay Johnson.
Yeah.
And Jay's been a great friend of mine for 40 years. So Tina and I were working a week at the Magic Castle, and we said, hey, Jay, you want to do it with us? And he always says yes. So the three of us are going to do the show. And so I had an idea. Actually, the basics of this started out with Harry Anderson, my old buddy. So we came up with a version of this mind-reading routine. So here's what we were going to do. First of all, at this point of the show, the audience, they don't know Jay Johnson. They've never met him, and they don't know he's a ventriloquist. They probably know, but they don't know what he looks like yet. So I said, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be blindfolded. Tina's going to come down in the audience, and you're going to take things out of your pockets, out of your purses, and she's going to hold them up. I will be blindfolded. I'll be able to identify everything she holds up psychically. All right? Clear? Bring out the blindfold. And Jay comes out, and he goes, we don't have a blindfold. I go, what do you mean we don't have a blindfold? It was right in the wings there. Where's the blindfold? There's no blindfold. We don't have the blindfold. There is no blindfold. Oh, for crying out loud. We got to have a blindfold. Where's the frickin' blindfold? So I'm looking around, and over on the side is a bucket. Now, the reason there's a bucket is because Tina had just done her mop act, and it made sense to have a metal bucket on the back, kind of in the side. I said, bring that bucket over here. This will be the blindfold. And I take this big galvanized metal bucket and put it over my head. Now, meanwhile, Jay's got the handheld microphone, and he's holding it up to the bucket like this. He's basically a microphone stand. And now, even though I've got a bucket over my head, the microphone is being held right here. Tina says, who's got an object? And so someone will hold up a set of keys or something. What am I holding? And the audience hears, I see a set of keys. So we thought the audience would burst into laughter because they would realize, well, this guy's a ventriloquist, and the idiot in the bucket can't see anything.
Yeah, and you're not saying anything.
I stood there for 5 minutes and never said a word. And Jay, with this perfect ventriloquial technique, is staring right at Tina and the spectators. And when Tina holds something up, Jay's going, they are keys. And so people are astonished. So Tina moves on to the next guy. What do you got? That's lipstick. Perfectly. Lipstick. What color is it? It's orange. And now people are going, what the? And people that know Tina and I are going, I didn't know Mike and Tina had a code act. How long have they been doing a code act? A code act? I don't have anything. So we did the whole act. No laughter, amazing applause. And we go backstage. What happened?
Why wasn't it funny?
It wasn't funny. So now I have guys that I know come back and said that, how long have you guys been working on a code act? I go, you're an idiot. You got to come back and see this again. The next day, a friend of mine called me up in the morning. He said, I was driving home on the freeway, and all of a sudden, I almost drove off the road when I went, it was Jay Johnson. It was a ventriloquism act. So now we have the problem. So what do? Do we play this for real all week long? So we thought, well, maybe we'll do it a little bit real, but then we'll get so ridiculous that they'll realize. Mm-hmm. So near the end of the routine, later, Jay would say, come back tomorrow, folks. Or apparently it was me saying this. And I'll do this entire act while drinking a glass of water. Still no laughter. So we planted a beer bottle in the audience, and the last thing Tina would hold up, what am I holding? And Jay would say, this is the most difficult item of all. Very, very, very difficult for any mind reader. And he would say, it's a bottle of gear. Mm-hmm. Well, any ventriloquist knows that bottle of beer is very hard to say, and a bad ventriloquist would say, bottle of gear. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Completely amazed. No. So we just played it straight all week. Had a great time.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's one of the best methods ever
I know.
for that routine.
It's a great method, but the reason it worked, for two reasons. A, because Jay's a fantastic ventriloquist, and B, nobody knew what I sounded like when I had a bucket on my head.
Yeah.
Okay? So, the minute the first words came out of apparently me with a bucket on my head, people assumed, I guess that's what this idiot sounds like when he's got a galvanized pail on his head.
Yeah.
So you need those two things. You need a great ventriloquist as a microphone stand.
Yeah, and I'll tell you my thoughts after the cameras are off.
Oh, good.
Because I've got some ideas about that. I just don't feel like sharing.
All right.
So let's talk more about your work. You mentioned working with producing a bunch of silverware and a live chicken.
Yes.
From a spectator's jacket during the scissors through it. A crazy routine. Let's talk about working with a live chicken. What was that like? And then what other things did you try? It's all in the book, but just to give people a little idea.
So here's where that routine came from. I grew up every year going to the It's Magic show, Milt Larson's It's Magic show, at this great little theater in Los Angeles, and it was heaven. Every year he would bring the great magicians from the world, and my dream then as a teenager, someday I want to do this thing. One day Bill Larson called me and said, how would you like to MC the It's Magic show? And I said yes, and of course I was terrified. I was terrified because who else is on the show? Well, one act with somebody, a 21-year-old magician that at least out west nobody had ever heard of, named Lance Burton. And the closing act was Ricciardi. So I'm at a point with my act where I'm doing the Lincoln coat hangers. And I thought, do I really want to come out on a show with Lance Burton, whom I had seen, and Ricciardi, and do my coat hanger routine, which I had already done for quite a while? And the answer I decided was no. And I thought, what would be worthy? What would be an amazing, great trick? Now again, I didn't invent anything here. I remember reading about Howard Thurston getting a spectator up and reaching into his coat and producing a duck. I thought, you know what? That's got to be unbelievable. I mean, people are going to go home talking about that. So I decided that would be great. Now, I knew enough to know that ducks are filthy dirty. I mean, they stink to high heaven, and they're just a mess. They're funny. What is also funny are chickens, and they're not anywhere near as dirty. And they're actually great pets.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to use a chicken. Now, I had a lot to figure out. How am I going to produce this chicken? And many, many things. It takes up 60 pages or so in this book. But I decided, because I had some time, and I wanted to try to perfect this routine for that It's Magic show. Now, what I didn't want to do, because there's kind of no logic to it, I didn't want to get a guy up on stage, take his coat, and go, "Whoa, you got a chicken in your thing." What is that? I don't understand this. What does that have to do with anything? So I had this character of sort of an idiot with these harebrained ideas that I was going to try to do. And this harebrained idea is that I'm going to hypnotize this guy. And to prove that he's completely out, I'm going to be able to take a pair of scissors, shove him right through the back of his coat. He's not going to even care. So he's sitting in a chair at the time, and he's holding his coat. And I pushed the scissors through his coat. And then when I tried to pull them all the way through, of course, this is the old knife through coat routine, which has been around forever. But by using scissors, and remember, I've used scissors in almost every routine that I've done. The neat thing about scissors going through a coat is, yes, you could push the blade through, but now you've got that handle end to contend with. And do I actually think that I can continue to pull those scissors right through this guy's coat without a problem? Well, the answer is yes, I do, but the result is no, I can't. And I give this final tug, and there's a huge rip. Uh-oh, and now something has gone horribly wrong. And I put the scissors away. I can fix that, and I squeeze the little piece of newspaper and drop it on the floor, and the coat's as good as new. So apparently, I have succeeded in doing this trick, even though I seemed like I screwed it up. There's no hole in the guy's coat. And I hold the coat up, ta-da, the trick is over, and it worked. And one spoon falls on the floor. And I'm as surprised as everybody else. I go, what the heck was that? And I pick up a spoon. I go, oh, and now I figure it out. Stopped off for dinner on the way down to the show. Don't worry about it. Everybody does it, like he's stealing silverware from a restaurant. Don't worry about it. Oh, come on, the audience laughs. You do the same thing yourself. And now more silverware starts to fall out of his coat. And remember I said that I basically was a banquet act. Mm-hmm. Corporate shows, corporate banquets, that was my bread and butter for a long time. And when you do a corporate show, this is going to be a funny routine for anybody that comes up on the stage. But when you get the big shot, when you get the president, when you get the CEO out of this big group of people up on the stage and pretend like you hypnotize them and then shove a pair of scissors through his $2,000 suit, and then a spoon falls on the floor and they're all sitting at banquet tables and their first thought is, oh my God, the boss is stealing silverware. It's a great moment.
Yeah.
And then there's a shower of silverware. And at some point, everybody realizes he didn't steal anything. This guy's got 10 pounds of silverware in there. And then 2 metal trays, and then a metal water pitcher. And by that time, this floor is covered with cutlery and a table setting. And I say, well, you pretty well set the table. I may as well serve dinner. Now, that's a crazy leap, but there is a certain logic to it. Once the table is set, it is time to serve dinner. Mm-hmm. And I say, what do you like, chicken? And he'll always agree with me, yes. And I'll say, I'm glad he didn't say beef. That means I would have had to produce a cow. Yeah. And now, kind of logically, even though it's very twisted logic, I produce a chicken out of the guy's coat and immediately hand him his coat back. And I can tell you that those employees out there will never let him forget the night that he had a chicken in his coat and was stealing silverware. Yeah. So it was a great finish to use in those situations that I worked in mostly. And it kind of had its debut on that It's Magic show. Now, it's changed dramatically over the years. That was in 1981, so you can do the math. Many, many changes, all of which I talk about in this book. Mm-hmm. Why I quit using that method and started using this method in lots of little layers. I used to do it with a regular pair of scissors, which you can do. But I gimmicked this pair of scissors, and it added 3 levels, 3 layers of onion to this mystery. And I've had many people say, I've watched that thing 10 times. I guess I missed the moment, because it's those 3 extra layers of mystery that is confusing them.
Sure.
So, with some work to gimmick these scissors, but well worth it.
Yeah, and then eventually, and I don't want to give away too much, you should read the book about this whole, the chicken story is fantastic, and eventually it goes high-tech in a way that you wouldn't expect.
Well,
anyway, I don't want to get, unless you want to say it, it's kind of a good secret that they should find
There's
out.
a whole chapter in this book, The Chicken Chronicles, about me spending 25 years traveling around America smuggling a live chicken on and off airplanes. And it reads like this can't have happened. And it's all true. Yeah. I mean, as I look back on them, the most hair-raising stories. I used to lay awake at night before I'd have to fly to a city going, what am I going to do if? What if they stop me at TSA?
Yeah,
what
how
if
am I
they
going
don't
to
let
get
the
this chicken through? Yeah.
What if this happens? What if that? And it was really eating on me. Mm-hmm. And finally, I was sort of forced. I found a place, once again in LA, where they make movies, a place that makes fake animals. But I mean real fake animals that move. And I said, I need a coaching hand. And I said, here's my coaching hand. And I set my little chicken down there. And they photographed her and measured her. And 2 months later, I came back and paid a lot of money for an amazing mechanical chicken. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't think it's as good as a real chicken. But, again, it lets me do this 6-7 minute routine that is the close of my act. And I've had many people after a show where I've used what I call robo-chick come back and say, how do you get that chicken on an airplane? And I know then I fooled them. Yeah. They're convinced that it was real.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's a...
Yeah, I just stuff it into the check bag.
Yeah, right.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's right.
Now, in addition to all of your work here, this actually comes as a set, two books.
It does.
And this second one is like your love. That's
a good way to put it.
This is your vocation here. It's your avocation there. You absolutely love
Yes.
all of this. Tell everybody what that second book is. They have to get them as a set.
Yep.
So they're going to end up with this one.
I
But I think they're gonna love this one.
I tricked them into buying this book because you can't buy them separately. But this is the book I've made my living with. And maybe, I know you've heard of it, Dan. The Los Angeles Conference on Magic History. We did this for about 25 years. Jim Steinmeier and John Gahn and myself. And every other year we would do this conference for magic historians and collectors. And each conference, we would each pick some old antique illusion, something that hasn't been performed in 100 years for whatever reason. But in its day, it was something.
Sure.
And it was fascinating to dig around and find these tricks. Sometimes we were able to find an original version of the illusion, an antique prop, like Dante's sawing a lady in half.
Yeah, it's
And
beautifully restored.
yeah. And other times we weren't able to find anything. That's Thurston's original Through the Eye of the Needle barrels. And these are really great tricks, really great tricks. And to me, it's so interesting to take a trick like that. And believe me, reading about it in an old book is one thing. But to take one of these tricks and figure out everything about it, you've got to make every little gimmick, you've got to write a script, you've got to get your buddies that are willing to spend their weekends rehearsing this thing for one performance. You got to record music. We'd go out to Western Costume and rent costumes. I mean, it was insane for one show. But that's what we did. This is the $1 Million Mystery. I just happen to have Carter the Great's $1 Million Mystery.
One of my favorite.
It's the greatest trick I've ever performed, certainly, and maybe the greatest trick I've ever seen.
And I helped Kevin James with a large stage version for Korea.
Right. Very good.
For that, yeah, beautiful trick.
An amazing principle, for sure.
Great principle.
This is Thurston's original O chair, where a lady disappeared from the chair. This is the most impractical magic you could ever, believe me, because I've performed it all. And I'm sure that's why this doesn't get performed anymore. It's unbelievably impractical.
But it's the stuff that they were doing.
Yes.
They took the time to do some intricate work and some fascinating principles built into theaters, and it was.
It's amazing to me that they would drag this stuff around the country, and in many cases around the world, and do these things every night. This is the old style egg bag, where they had a big bag and they'd produce a couple dozen eggs out of it, followed by a live chicken. So I wanted to see what it was like.
I did do a version of that for the Tarbell thing.
Oh,
it's
great.
in there, yeah, absolutely. I changed it up a little bit.
Very good.
Had to.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what this book is. I've had many people say, can I buy just this book and not this one? And I say, no, you can't. And those people have come back to me and say, you know what? After I read them both, I enjoyed this book as much as I did this book, because this is stuff nobody's going to do.
Yeah.
But the stories behind them, and the nice thing about this is, by being the owner of Egyptian Hall Museum, I have all the posters and all the photographs necessary to illustrate this with all this old ephemera that really makes these things come alive.
Yeah.
So I'm as proud of this book as I am of this book.
Oh yeah, absolutely should be. Anybody that really truly has a love for our art will sit with this for many, many hours and just be fascinated.
Well, I hope so.
By what has been accomplished in the past. I think it's inspirational to see that. I think it's also inspirational to have your work printed and shared with us. I've had a great time just hanging out, watching you, and getting a chance to talk to you.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much
Thanks for having me.
bringing this to us.
All right,
thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time. Keep it going for Mike Caveney! Nice job, sir. Mike Caveney, everybody.
Thanks a lot.